for him.
Yeah,
right.
It's 7. It's 7 in the East.
Yeah, I just said it's 4 p.m. for me because I'm in Arizona.
Right.
So West Coast time.
So
Yeah,
3 o'clock. It would be 3 o'clock for everybody in California, Seattle.
No, it's 4 o'clock for everyone in California because daylight savings time is retarded.
Oh, that's right. You don't observe it, do you?
No.
Right.
Oh my God. So I'm eating breakfast, but I love the fact that you said observe it.
I survive off of coffee and rage.
I can't see Brian raging at anything.
Brian, I gotta. Sorry, buddy. I love you like a play cousin, but you don't rage.
You don't come off like you rage.
You smolder. You simmer.
I play a character on TV.
Yeah.
My YouTube channel is 100% a character.
I'm not talking about your fucking channel. I'm talking about you, who I talked to behind stage many, many times. I've never seen you rage. Even when you were upset, you were polite. You're more fucking Canadian than I am.
Well, I'm going to take a new stance, and that is I'm just going to agree with everybody. I don't care what their political stance is. I'm going to agree with it. I don't care what their LGBTQ views are. I agree with it all. I'm going to be complete pacifist and stop arguing with people.
Cannibalism, yay or nay?
Yep.
He's agreeing with it.
I agree.
He's not participating, just agreeing.
What was the question?
Yes.
Yay or nay. That's all I heard. I didn't hear what the actual question. All right, yeah, I'm in. Cool, let's do it.
Oh, cannibalism.
Oh, cannibalism. Wow. I've been on that topic on chats. I don't think I want to answer this one. No.
We know who we start with.
Clear away. You. I also love how Sarah tries to stealth go live and not tell any of us so he can catch us on saying something juicy.
Oh, I do. But
you're like the TMZ of this community, I swear to God.
Oh, it's great. It's perfect.
See, there you are agreeing with everything, Brian. It's creeping me out. Stop.
I mean, what can I say? You're right.
I'm too tired for this crap.
Yep, me too.
Anyhow. So
how about them expos?
Needle pulling thread.
Oh, a note to follow. So that means someone has to say drink. Never mind.
So, needless to say, I had a great time with Seraphis on Wednesday, and I've gotten good feedback overall. People liked what we did.
I don't know why, but sure.
I'm with Sarah.
I mean, it sounds entertaining, and I saw that. See, Bear likes to go live when it's so inconvenient for me.
I'm sorry.
Although he didn't send me a message last night, but I did tune in for a few minutes as I was drifting off to sleep. Chips.
Mute your mic, Bear.
Sorry, my apologies. My medicine and my health got in the way of things.
It sounded like Doritos.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
That was 50-year-old men vitamins.
I need to be taking those. I agree. That's something that I should be doing.
Anyway, so the reason I didn't send you the link is because we're never available on Fridays.
Well, yesterday was Saturday.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. Okay, I've lost all meaning of time. My apologies.
Time is a construct.
Truly.
But no, I'm usually what it is I've just got my CPAP contraption on, settled in bed, look at my phone one last time. Fuck. Message from Barry wants me to join. Damn it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I won't do that again, Princess.
No, keep doing it. You never know.
Oh, you're one of those. I'm one of those. I know what that's like, and I know how frustrating it is for other people. Trust me, I'll keep doing it. But yeah,
No, I got up
Listen,
at 3 o'clock this morning.
no, I'm the same way as you. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. Why'd you stop inviting me? Because you say you never want to go. Yes, but there will be the time I will say I want to go. So keep inviting me, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I'll be honest, I saw Bear's message come in and I'm like, I am too tired to respond to this, and went to sleep.
Sucks being old.
And I wonder why I'm still friends with all of you, and yet here I am, still friends with all of you.
And
Especially
we appreciate
I needed you guys last night.
it.
The whole point of last night was to shit talk, was to get it out of our systems, to just have that free form to say whatever the hell was on our minds about whatever we wanted. No one was willing to come on and open their mouths until Nerds Nerd came 4 hours later. And then suddenly other people wanted to be there because Nerds Nerd, was the brave one who took the first step forward. So what did we do? We listened to music and talked shit, just talked for 4 hours.
Sure, and that's awesome. And I wanted to die,
Yeah,
so
well,
I went to sleep.
maybe once you go to England again, you'll be all refreshed.
I do want to go to England again.
In my defense, if I'd come on, all you would have heard in the background is screaming kids. So I don't think anyone needs that. That's why I do these at like midnight.
Can you imagine how Seraphis is going to be when you're 50?
What, in 11 years' time?
Yeah. Oh, 11 years, man.
Look, Junior.
That can take a toll. It can take a real toll. Especially with kids. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, and at that age, then they just hate you for like no identifiable reason.
Oh, you scrambled the
I
eggs
assure
instead
you,
of frying
Brian.
them? I hate you.
I assure you, Brian, everyone hates you for an identifiable reason. There's
didn't-
no mitigated hate.
Sure, but I'm talking like teenage children. That's
No, I got the joke. I just see this is your problem. This is the issue. You make a joke and then Brian tries to rationalize the goddamn joke, and you go, "Man, it's a fucking joke. It does not need anything other than a chuckle." Thank you, Brian. Thank you, other Brian. Where's Tori? We need some goddamn rational thought in this conversation.
She's in chat.
Why isn't she on camera?
I don't know. She's freaking out about Brian's sweater t-shirt thing.
It is a nice sweater vest. Sweater vest?
It's
What am
just
I
a
looking at?
t-shirt.
Ah,
A t-shirt
fuck
with
you.
a sweater vest print.
Fuck you fucking hipster.
It could be a sweater.
I don't know what blue screen means, but clearly your computer's working because you're typing. So you have no PC again while you're on your phone? Oh my God, poor girl. Sarah, how old are you?
Me?
Mhm.
Don't
be a girl. How old are you?
39.
39? Are you lying right now just because you want to pretend you're younger than you actually are because you're acting like a woman?
Okay. I'm 2009, 9 years old. There. Happy now?
I thought the show was called Talking Drek. I don't know why you're getting offended about some Drek talk, buddy. Brian, you're how old?
48.
Brian. 48. You're in lower Brian, you're how old?
I'll be 51 in 2 weeks.
Hooray!
Oh, wow. Good for you, man. That's great. Okay.
There.
About to gain
Brian,
experience.
Red Brian.
What? Sorry, what?
Blue Brian, red Brian.
Oh dear God, no! They're Americans. Don't do that. They've really ruined those two colors for everyone always.
Fuck. Damn it.
And let's be honest, if you've listened to any of any of the stuff that I might have let slip out about my political beliefs, blue is not the right color.
There. Now it's red and blue. How's that?
Look, he's agreeing with everything.
When red and blue come together, they make a happy purple.
No, it's not
Just
happy.
like my heart.
Just like my heart.
Bruised.
I like that one. I'm on pills for my heart, so that worked out well.
I need to be. I need to be. God, man, see, I suck.
Why don't you actually go see your doctor? You're over 50, buddy. It's time they got to shove the camera up your ass, the whole 9 yards. We're in that world now.
I know it.
You'll be here soon, Brian. Sorry, Upper Brian.
Oh, for the record, like, so with all of like my gastro issues that I've been dealing with, went to the gastro doc. So it's like I'm throwing up. I'm like,
did they stick a camera up your butt?
No, they put the camera down my throat. But well, no, but I go in for the very first meeting with this guy, and it's like, this is the like every mouth to stomach. That's where all of the problems are. He's like, okay, well, we'll schedule you and we'll do this procedure and we'll kind of see what we can figure out what's going on. And I'm like, okay, that all sounds great. And then for the next 15 minutes, lays into me. He's like, well, you're almost 50 and you haven't had a colonoscopy yet. And blah, blah, blah. Like just going off on me. It's like, bruh, number one, first time I've ever seen you. Second off, you haven't addressed this issue that I'm here for. How about we figure that out, then try to upsell me on more services?
Did you say this to him?
No.
That's the difference between you and me. This is why I keep saying I am the weirdest Canadian, because I act more like an American than Americans I know now. Because literally, I'm at the doctor because my knee hurts. And this is years of chronic pain in the knee. I'm like, something's wrong with my knee. She does x-ray. She goes, well, I don't see anything that's wrong. And then she was being really bitchy to me. And I just went, listen, I didn't put a gun to your head and tell you to go to medical school, okay? That was your choice you made in life. So now we need to find a solution to the problem I have. She looks at me, she goes, well, what do you want me to do? I went, recommend me to a fucking specialist since you can't find the problem. Fine. And she recommended me a specialist, and we found out I had a torn meniscus. You know? Because the meniscus won't show up on a fucking x-ray, you twat. You know, like, it's like, And I hear people tell their doctor, my doctor said this and that, and I was very angry because blah, blah, blah. Did you say that to them? No. Why not?
I didn't do my rant that I just did, but like he gets through all that. I'm like, well, I'm not worried about that right now. And he's like, okay. But it's just like, bro, seriously.
No, fuck these doctors, man. They have become so arrogant and so empowered, and we sit there and we go, yes, whatever you say, master. Oh, please, sir, don't make me live in the fields. Like, we treat them like they're like the overlords of us, and we're the serfs going to beg them for health care. Fuck them. They serve us. Twat does not rhyme with cat any more than you start the word water. I'll have a glass of water. How do you say it in Australia, Surface? Twat or twat?
Oh, twat. But then again, we say beer.
We say beer.
Yeah.
What do the British say? Beer? Like,
we just said that they say water. We say beer.
I don't know. I didn't go to the pub.
Yeah, your joke didn't work. That was close, but it didn't get there. WATERBEER. We get it. Simpsons. No, but see, Australians say it right. Canadians say it right. Americans say it right. British, who invented the word, can't say it right. It doesn't even follow their own linguistic guidelines. How fucking stupid is that?
Nothing follows linguistic guidelines in English.
Well, English isn't a language. That's the first rule. Except to the British. They seem to think it's as valuable as French. I agree, Brian. Thank you, Brian. And my point about ages before I went and got my other cup of coffee was, did I actually hear Brian refer to Seraphis as a youngster?
I said junior, but...
Junior, okay. How does that feel, being the first time you can be on a panel and pull age? Is that a good feeling for you? Did you like, my balls have dropped, I am a man today. All right, we got to do something about Sourpuss down here because he's getting just dark face. What's wrong, Game Masters, Brian?
I agree.
No, you don't. Work with me now. Come on.
No, I'm just tired, man. That's it. I'm just tired.
It's been one of those weeks.
It has. It's been one of those years, decades, lifetimes. Yeah.
It's been one of those millennia. Yeah. This week's been a hell of a century.
It's been just eternity is just dragging on for too long. That came out better than I thought it would, actually.
It was good. Well played. Screw beer. I'm on wooski at this point. I think I have a bust and VME, and it's not even. Is Tori talking about her lady parts? I don't understand anything she just wrote.
I don't want to have that discussion.
Yeah, and I don't want to know what a busted NVMe is, but my God, that
It's an
sounds.
SSD.
See, Sarah, the woman of our conversation.
No.
No, it's just because I'm closer to her age than you guys.
Oh, because we don't know anything because we're old. Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think
I'm your translator.
Are you? Well,
Yes.
we're fucked. If he has the map, we're going to wind up in a fucking swamp or a pond.
Swamps could be cool.
Says 10 left.
The swamps could be cool unless you have a horse with you.
Oh,
Still too soon.
Oh,
Which is not too
wait.
soon, but
No, it's too soon. It'll always be too soon for our tax.
It will be.
That was like the saddest thing. Like that and Watership Down are like left scars on me as a child. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Have y'all seen the picture of the kid that's for Halloween? I guess it was done last year, where he's dressed up as Atreyu and he's dragging behind him like this horse that all it is from the neck up.
just like in a wagon or something.
Yes. It's like, oh my God, that's hilarious. It's so sad, but it's hilarious at the same time.
That's dark. That's pretty fucking dark. Jesus Christ.
So I've never actually watched Watership Down, but I do understand the premise. I think the main problem is the fact that it's not a kids movie, but everyone's like, "Oh, it's animated, and it'll be great."
No. It is a kids movie. The thing is we were tougher kids back then. The whole Disney parent thing hadn't happened yet. See, you don't understand life, Brian, because you were born when? 76. So you were still shitting your pants when the entire fucking culture just went, fucking children are precious and resources we must protect from. There's this thing that lives in my house that eats food and sometimes puts gunk on stuff. Oh, Sarah knows what I'm talking about. But yeah, but that's the thing. When we were kids, they just fed us a steady stream of just traumatic stuff to watch that made us the feral children Gen X were. You know? We were, dude. I don't know. Maybe you had.
No, that's a good way to describe it.
Like, you know, that latchkey kids. I remember I literally was like, well, we weren't latchkey kids. And I was going off proudly about, fuck you, not all Gen X was latchkey kids. My sister Madeline, who's the one that's closest to my age, she goes, how many times do we have to climb up the ladder to get into the house because the doors were locked and the only way in was that one door up on the balcony on the second floor? Then we had to go make our own lunch our own supper after school. Oh, yeah, we had to do that, didn't we? Yeah, it's because we weren't trustworthy with keys. With keys because they were afraid we'd lose them.
I know.
Oh, yeah, we were latchkey kids. Fuck. You know, like,
just from my own experience, I had to get into the house through the kitchen window because I wasn't allowed a key until after 10 years old. So
I've met you. I understand why you weren't allowed a key. I kid. Through a window?
I'm a darling.
Was it a first floor house or was it 2-story?
It was a single story.
Okay.
But it was built in the 1900s, so it was made of stone.
Okay. Why does that matter?
Have you ever tried to climb up a stone exterior house?
Well, did it have like stone?
I mean, according to D&D, that should be like super easy.
Yeah, exactly. Was it concrete or was it stone?
It was masoned stone. So there was
like smooth as ice? What?
So plenty of hand grooves and
no.
Was like one of your childhood past
like
to go
field stone
off the extra.
Yeah, it's like a flat field stone. Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that is. I've never seen a house made out of flat field stones before, but all right. I now get to call Sarah Fieldstone. Meet the Fieldstones. Family. No. All right.
Well, I would show you a picture of the house, but unfortunately, it's been renovated in the last 20 years, and it now looks like a modern piece of shit.
As opposed to a slab of rock you lived in.
Hey, at least that slab of rock was built to last.
Yeah, mountains and caves are like that, barring earthquakes. It's pretty awesome. So what you're telling us is you were a cave child. Is that it? Is that it, Sarah?
Did I not comment before that I'm coming up on 2,100 years old? No.
Okay. All right. There. Slow down, Ringo Starr. Anyway, the long and the short of it is, Watership Down is perfectly fine for children if you don't mollycoddle them.
Okay.
I mean, my kids have watched House of a Thousand Corpses, so.
Can you
God
tell that to
damn.
Grim next time? Because she
What?
won't let me. She won't let me let the kids watch Watership Down.
Are you a Christian?
No.
Were you raised Christian?
Yes.
Okay. I was raised Christian. I'm no longer practicing. Brian worships Space Jesus, and other Brian I don't know, and I won't ask because I'm afraid I'll find an answer that will just like disturb me because I'll look it up and lose sanity.
Don't worry, Bear. He'll just agree with you.
That's true. And that's a sign that the Cthulhuid horror has given him the tentacle colostomy.
Colostomy.
Colonoscopy, sorry. Sarah, I'm not going to tell your wife shit. That's your job. Beans. I can see you in the camera. Sorry, cat being bad in the kitchen. He likes to jump up on things that have holes now and get trapped in them and then meow his head off until I come and rescue him. It's his new favorite fucking game. Did you hear that? There we go. Also Metallica. What the fuck does that mean? Oh, there's a whole before it.
Yeah,
sorry.
read the
My mom
comment.
tried to ban Diablo in my house, but my dad played it in Warcraft 2 anyway, so I grew up on those games despite her efforts, and also Metallica. It's cute when millennials and Gen Z try and show us how edgy they are. we threw rocks at each other's head, got massive gashes, went home. Our mothers would spit on them to clean them, and then send us back out into the fucking fight.
I have a literal scar somewhere on my forehead, and it's not showing up very well, from being hit in the forehead with a rock that kids were throwing at me.
Just rub some dirt on it. You'll be okay.
Yeah, we literally used to call the game Murder.
Mm-hmm.
We're playing Murder this weekend. Oh, fuck. I don't have a helmet. We're going to die. You know, let's go.
See, because Australia, we had cricket balls and cricket bats.
Okay. We had
I don't know if you...
baseball bats.
But you didn't actually play the game, right?
No.
Have you seen Australia in the World Cricket stuff? They're not very good.
Australia's not real, therefore cricket's obviously not real.
Oh, nice play.
Although I did hear that the U.S. is the best at it.
At cricket? At cricket?
Yes. Like
I would think India and Sri Lanka may have words for you.
No. Like U.S. cricket team.
For Americans to understand cricket, you got to know what a crumpet is. We all know that.
No one knows
like
what
biscuit?
a crumpet is.
Those are fighting words. Beans, come here. Come here, you little shit. What are you going on about?
Also, since cricket is basically British, it is a real thing.
It's not. Fuck the English. Oh, hi, John. Sorry, I didn't realize you were in the chat.
Well, so
hey, who backs me on Backer Kit? I'm sending out an update as we talk that y'all, especially two of you, well, one of you, Mormon Brian, will really, really appreciate.
Oh, anyways, it was like 6 months ago, but yeah, like the U.S. cricket team beat Pakistan, I think for the World Championship.
Probably not.
No. Like, no, this is like straight up legit because everyone was like, "Wait, hold on, what's cricket?" And how did the U.S. win at it? Now, keep in mind, like half the team are all Indians living in the U.S. And on top of that,
By the way, hold that thought, Brian. I'd like to point out for Saro, because other Brian's an American as well. Notice what they do. They win one thing once and then decide they're the best in the world at it.
that's
fair.
That's
what they do. We went to the moon once. We're the best moon people ever.
Yield Geek is clarifying. He says that that it was a qualifying game. Okay.
Doesn't matter. We beat them, and they weren't us, so we're the best.
Like Pakistan is like world championship or something level, and so then the fact that the Americans beat them, everyone was like,
India,
"Wait, what happened with
South
this?"
Africa are the best teams in the world. Sarah's got it right, dude. I dated a fucking Indian girl for 9 years. You know how much cricket I had to digest? It sucked. Trust me, man. It sucked.
So, Game Masters, who's your favorite cricket team?
The ones dipped in chocolate, I don't.
I agree.
No clue. All of them.
They're great. Masters. They're the best. You are the best. Yay.
My only real issue with cricket is I don't understand the rules. I think if I understood the rules, I'd be a little bit more interested in it.
So one team bowls and then the other team bats, and then after a while, they swap sides.
So now what you've done is you've confused him because you've mixed baseball with bowling. So as an American, he's going, wait, they bowl and bat at the same time? Like, how do they hit those giant 15-pound marble balls? That doesn't make any sense.
That would be a hell of a sport. If somebody could throw a bowling ball that far, and two, if somebody could hit it with something sufficiently heavy to like send it into play, that would be legit.
Suddenly, Americans invent a new sport called, fucking construction bowling, where they're using backhoes to hit balls.
Basketball.
Basketball is a damn good thing.
It's a funny movie too.
I love that movie.
I'd watch construction baseball.
And you'd measure it in deep freezes or something like the Americans love to do.
And the biggest issue that I had, and you'll see where I'm connecting these two dots. When I went to go see Frozen, and they asked, "Do you want to build a snowman?" My first thought was just going right back to Cannibal the Musical.
That hurts. See, Brian has kids. He doesn't think watching Frozen's funny by default.
Yes, but his kids are at that age where
they're Mormons. They're stunted. Come on, be nice. Be nice.
My kids are just fine.
They're not going to be singing it back to you out of tune repeatedly over and over and over.
Have you met his kids?
No, that's because I have boys, and Frozen came out after they were a little old for that type of movie anyways.
Do you not have boys, Sarah? You have girls?
I've got one boy, one girl.
Ah, that must be.
But they're also very small.
They are very small. Quite like the Frauleins.
I mean, we could build a snowman, make him tall or not so tall.
Oh, I think Brian's using us for therapy now.
We could name him Tom, or we could name him George.
George, I will hug him and pet him and squeeze him.
Oh, come on. Have y'all not ever seen that movie? Says,
cricket is baseball with brains and flowery words.
But it's an innings. An innings. Innings.
And?
Innings.
Like in baseball.
I'm missing something. I'm sorry.
Me too. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I'm just trying to be Canada. Keep us all friendly.
All I know is baseball is not so great, watching on TV, but there is something about going to an actual game that's enjoyable.
No, there
As
isn't.
someone who's been to a
hot
baseball
dogs are
game,
good.
no, there's not.
Yeah. Hot dogs are expensive. The beer's expensive. You're sitting in the sun. No.
I'm not saying I go often, but
Do you have a baseball team in Arizona?
yeah, Diamondbacks.
The who?
The Diamondbacks.
The whats?
They they actually got awarded the franchise in like '96, and their first
Oh, that's
season
why
was.
I've never heard of them.
But their first season was right after I got back from Brazil in '98, and then they actually won the World Series in 2001, which I did think was kind of funny because I remember going into the World Series because it was the Yankees and the Diamondbacks, and I was like, 2001, everyone's like, oh, New York deserves to win because of 9/11. It's like, that, no, stop it. That is not how sports works. So, and then we won. And that was the year that Randy Johnson hit the pigeon with the baseball.
Yes, I remember that.
It was that world. I think that was in the World Series that happened too.
What?
Randy Johnson, pitcher for the Diamondbacks. So he's throwing the ball, and a pigeon literally flies through right at the right time and just gets, like, Randy Johnson at the time was like the top of the pitching game, and this pigeon just poof!
You can find the footage on YouTube. That bird dies.
Oh yeah, it's like that is an ex-bird.
I remember all the people making a stink about it, and like people wanting him to be like, prosecuted for animal abuse. And it's like, he didn't do it on purpose.
That is a sky rat.
Had enough of life and decided this is how he was going out. Honor the pigeon's choices, please.
YouTube corrected me with the.
You could share with the audience.
Yeah, seriously, what the fuck?
The thumbnail is bad enough.
The thumbnail is bad.
The what? How do you speak giggling Australian, let alone basic Australian, Brian? What the fuck? What did he say?
He said the thumbnail was bad enough, so he hasn't even watched the video.
Oh my god. Okay, well, watch the video.
Share your screen, Seraphis. Yeah. Let the audience see. Make sure you mute it just in case so you don't get yelled at by YouTube.
Oh, they yell at you for non-muted as well. Muted is non-muted.
I get it. I'm just trying to minimize issues.
They're just assholes.
Oh yeah, because I'm really trying to monetize my channel, don't you know?
Why not?
Hey, it may be 37 cents a video, but
hey, that's 37 cents you didn't have in the first place.
Exactly.
One more time?
Yeah, I think it's playing again in slow. Oh,
it's not funny in slow-mo. It's not as funny. It's way funnier because you can see its poor dead body hitting the ground in slow-mo. In regular mode, it looks like it got evaporated.
That's true.
I thought it was a seagull. It was a pigeon. I always thought it was a seagull for some reason.
We're in Arizona.
Seagulls are everywhere, dude.
Not in Arizona.
I was in the center, the geographic center of North America, which is in North Dakota. And there were fucking seagulls in the parking lot begging for food. And me and my buddy were like, what the fuck? How are there seagulls in the very center of North America? The largest body of water is like 700-800 miles or 600 miles away. What the fuck? Seagulls.
I mean, there's a bunch of seagulls in Salt Lake City, Utah, but that's because they have the Salt Lake up there. But here in Arizona,
I don't think you understand the word sea in this equation, do you, Brian? Seagulls, not Salt Lake gulls.
The Salt Lake is massive.
I'm just fucking with you, dude.
I know.
Jesus, you just can't take a fucking joke.
I'm just saying, I know they're up there, but here in Phoenix, I have never seen a seagull.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
See,
It's when you start seeing
blue,
penguins, that's when you
red,
have
purple,
to worry.
green.
What, Brian?
It's when you start seeing penguins, that's when you have to worry.
That's fair. That's
I
completely fair.
I did see penguins at the.
Out
I've
the
seen
zoo.
penguins.
Oh, I was gonna say it was at the aquarium zoo thing, but
I've seen penguins.
You live in Australia. Shut up.
I would say like you're like outside of Chile, you are the closest to Antarctica anyways, so
So fair.
Well, Tasmania, technically speaking, but yeah.
I just
They're
meant
part of us.
the whole country in general. Tasmania is part of Australia, right?
Now I see why you
Yeah.
two get along, because you both do this to like you literally weaponize your autism at people.
You're welcome.
I'm not autistic.
Oh, sweetie. Okay, sweetie.
I have not been diagnosed.
I have not been dying.
Doesn't mean you don't have cancer, right?
Oh, so that's why my mum died. Oh, okay.
Oh, there was this thing growing on the side of her thing, but she said, I don't have cancer because I haven't been diagnosed. Oh, Ma, it's growing a face, Ma.
So what's Brian got coming up this week?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Oh my God, I want to give you a hug so much right now, dude.
No,
You
no videos
sound
playing.
So disappointed.
No video plans. I'll come up with something last minute like I always do.
That's how I roll. Like I think it's funny. Like my videos is like when they go live, like I finish recording, say 20 minutes ago. That 20 minutes was the upload time.
Yep. Pretty much.
Nice.
It takes me an hour to upload.
Now you know why I go live as opposed to doing pre-recorded content anymore.
But that's because you have to convert the video from imaginary to real.
You have to invert the Coriolis effect of the pixels so that we see everything in the right, left, and right calibration. I think Brian's point, Tori, is that there's no freestanding water in Arizona that they didn't steal from California and Colorado, so therefore they can't have seagulls.
Actually, California steals more
There
water
it
from
is.
Arizona.
See, there it is. There it is. You make the joke, and then Brian's got to give you the clarification.
No, I'm just saying. No, because that one's wrong. Like California.
Doesn't matter if it's wrong. It's funny.
No, it wasn't funny because
Jesus
of how
Christ.
wrong it
I'm
was.
sending you to comedy camp. I'm sending you to a stand-up comedy camp just to get your fucking swerve on, baby. Jesus Christ.
So
I figured out now why Sarah never invites me to these things default until I ask for the invite. And now I know why. Okay, I understand.
It's called protecting you. I would have thought you would have found that as a friendly gesture.
But I love GM and Tori. They're my friends, and I think highly of them, and I love spending time with them. Brian, like I see all the time. Like really,
I'm well tired of him by now.
I'm never tired of you. Please, sir. Please. You are a never-ending treat. You're an eternal gobstopper. You are the Tootsie Roll you can't get to the center of, sir. You are your gum that never loses its flavor.
I said sarcasm.
I think half of those were sex positions in Australia.
Oh, dude! Like, have you seen this whole Brownstein argument that's happening over in?
My gosh!
The D&D world, everybody's arguing over whether or not you. And I'm like literally going, I thought a Brownstein was something you paid extra for. Like, what the fuck is a Brownstein? Why do I care? And then I found out what
I have a Brownstein.
was.
I'm getting a new pair of underwear.
Yeah, exactly. And then I found out what an actual Braunstein is, and I'm like, who fucking cares? Why is this the latest pointless argument on Twitter? Like,
no, the worst part is the one that's really causing the biggest grief is Griff from Secrets of Blackmore, and I really like Griff, but it's just like bro, why are you starting this fight that you don't need?
I'm
So-
clueless as to what y'all are talking about.
Okay, so Brownstein is this stupid game way of playing that back in the early days of when D&D was just becoming formative and starting to find its feet, that this one guy introduced, and they all loved it and they thought it was great. Someone Walsh is his name? Walsh, something like that?
No, Dave Wellesley.
Wellesley, thank you. Go ahead, Brian.
But yeah, but the key to it is a Braunstein is okay. You know the board game Diplomacy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Imagine that, but instead of like a war game on a board recreating World War One, it's like, you know, palace intrigue kind of stuff. So somebody gets assigned as the king, and then somebody else is the vizier of the treasury or whatever.
Early LARPing.
Yeah. And
so you write your actions down on a piece of paper, and then everything happens at the same time?
No. They actually go into rooms and role play it all out and pretend to be the characters negotiating all the stuff. It's literally early LARPing.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
And there's a game master, there's a judge, you know, kind of controlling everything. But like
they're just there to argue and settle arguments.
Right. They're
Yeah,
not an actual
is this
character.
in the Dave Arneson documentary?
Yes, this was in the Dave Arneson.
Okay. Yep.
That's Secrets of Blackmore.
Yep.
And so but that's when they also get into one point where like one guy wanted to do something, and so he actually just went straight to the other character that he needed to deal with. Then they approach the GM and they're like, "Oh, blah blah blah, we did this thing," and the GM's like, "Wait, I did. F it, cool. That's where the story went." So yeah, so it's important as far as like how did Dungeons and Dragons and role playing and everything.
Really not important.
Well, no, I think it is understanding the historical context of how this all comes about, but like
it had zero to do with the fight that's being had right now.
Oh yeah, because now
nothing to the fight.
Right.
So what is the current like clash? What is the argument? What is the current fight?
The guy that made Secrets of Blackmore is
Griff, the guy who directed
the documentary Secrets of Blackmore. Knows most of the like Arneson's original crew because they're all in like their 70s and 80s. Yeah. And specifically Dave Wellesley, who ran the first Braunstein. The catch is Braunstein was never trademarked or copyright or written down into a rule set or anything. And so a lot of the Bro SR characters, but like the people on that side of, you know, D&D Twitter, Griff hates all of them. Like all of them, like without fail. Now, they're kind of douchey. It's like, imagine gym bros that play D&D. Okay, that's part of why they're called the Bro SR.
Which is not what they say. They say they call themselves the Bro SR for another reason. What was it? There was they say the BR means something else, but they act like douches. They literally at one point in time were pretending they were bad guy wrestlers was their mentality. We're going to act like heel wrestlers in Twitter and all this kind of stuff, right? Like they're the kind of guys who think it's fucking funny to be a cunt and everybody should laugh, you know, because they're being complete cunts, right? They think it's hilarious. Whatever. I don't give a fuck. You do you. Leave us the fuck alone. But
so Griff hates all of them. Absolutely hates everyone in that group. Well, the thing is, they really push old school role playing, like the whole 1-1 time things. Like, okay, so we stopped our session. Well, a week later, okay, well, it's been a week in game time as well. And so they were really, really pushing that kind of stuff. And so they started talking about, oh, we're playing a Braunstein. Oh, I'm doing a Braunstein. You know, like, oh, we were playing our game and we decided to throw in some Braunstein elements and we thought this was really fun. Well, Griff starts throwing a fit and it's like, you're stealing his intellectual property. How dare you do that to Dave and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, bro, first off, they didn't say they invented it. They didn't say they, you know, owned anything. They just said, we took these ideas. We think this is cool. We're trying to do some of this in our games. Yeah.
Agree.
LARPing.
Did you agree with everything today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's excellent. So LARPing is a form of acting. Acting goes all the way back to Greek times to Socrates and all of that.
Well before that.
Well before that. Tell me again about intellectual property.
No. Okay, so now I'm going to give you my opinions because Brian likes Griff. I don't. Anyone that turns anything into an arcane black art with secret language is what we used to call in the film industry a fucking bottom feeder. They were the people who wanted to make their little thing, this mystic art that they controlled like a priest class in like some Conan fucking story. And as a result, they would invent language and terminology and all this stuff so that you weren't them. That terminology meant if you had that terminology, you were in the know. You were part of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I fucking hate people with that attitude. And all I've seen from Griff is that fucking attitude because he's an arsonite, right? He thinks Dave Arson is the father of D&D, not Gary Gygax, when most of us with a brain realize it was kind of the two of them, but without Gygax, it would never have fucking happened because Arson had the production skills of a fucking amoeba. You know what I mean? Like,
creativity versus business skills, and
exactly.
They don't always mesh.
Yeah. So I kind of don't like that Griff has picked this fight or other fights or other comments. Oh, look who's not blue screening.
Hey!
I don't care for it. I think it's bad fucking policy. Go ahead. Sorry, Tori.
Oh, no, I was going to say y'all were talking about the Bronstein games, so I was like super curious and wanted to pipe in because I've only seen I saw one video where
Tori,
he did.
Tori, real quick, drop your gain just a tiny. You are coming in hot.
hey, Tori, come in hot as you like because you're a lady and it's your right to come in hot. Shut up.
I have to look on the backside of my microphone because
fine.
It's on the other side.
That's way better. Just pushing it back a little bit did great.
Okay, good. I was probably too close to it because I'm leaning forward. I'm also like, I don't know, 4 or 6 shots in at this point. So.
It's 7:30.
Hell of a way to spend a Sunday morning, lady.
But I saw one video talking about Griff, an interview with him specifically, and I kind of disagreed with him. Or at least I didn't like the way it was coming across. But from what I heard of what Brian, I guess Blue Brian, because you're wearing a blue sweater, was saying. So yeah. Oh, but so are you saying that you? I'm really curious if there's more to say on it because from the brief description that I got, it sounded like Griff was totally in the wrong. But
Griff is like 90% in the wrong. I understand his point. He's trying to make sure that, in my opinion, I think he's trying to make sure that some of these early people in the role-playing industry don't get forgotten. And I have absolutely no problems with that. I love Secrets of Blackmore. Heck, you can go to my channel. I interviewed Griff like a year and a half ago.
Oh.
So there's a 4-color cafe when I was hosting because Bear was taking a break last year that Griff was part of. So but
I'll never forgive you for that.
Well, I ruin everything.
And Max Liao. You're the one who brought Max Liao into my world. I really owe you a punch.
That's fair. So that's the thing. I'm not going to say he's completely in the wrong because I understand what I think he's trying to do, but the way he's going about it, it's like you are pissing way more people off.
Mm-hmm.
You are driving more people away. It's like, and it's the dumbest argument. Oh, you're all like, exercising IP theft. Okay, well, he didn't register or copyright anything. He didn't bother putting out a rule set or a game system.
But you can't copyright an idea, and that's all it is. If the style of how you play a game, that is an idea.
And that's the problem. That's why he's 90%, in my opinion, and I'm just making up a number, but that's why I'd say he's 90% in the wrong.
Yeah,
You
that
can't
was my.
copyright that because you just made up a number, so therefore it's uncopyrightable. Brian.
That's fair. No, right, exactly. So yeah, he's absolutely doing more damage because I'd like to see Secrets of Blackmore Part 2. He literally says we have actually I've talked to him. They've got enough footage. He just can't afford to edit it and get everything put into a second film. I'd like to see Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
I asked this question last night on my live stream, and I'm going to ask it to you guys as well. And this is not me being a schmug prick or trying to be funny. This is a legitimate, honest question. Please, guys, I'm not. This isn't a fucking setup or anything else. This is legit, okay? Because I know I'm sarcastic, and everybody takes half the shit that comes out of my mouth as just a joke.
I ruin all jokes.
And
anyway.
it's usually the wrong half, but that's okay. The actual jokes they take is serious. What the fuck is it with our hobby attracting so many fucking emotionally stunted and broken people like it does, to the point where these weaponized autistic fights are happening all the time? What is it about this hobby that just drags these people? I don't get it. I've been in other sub-circles, in various things, and I've never seen the infighting like I see in the role-playing community.
I'll take a stab at answering it. I don't think it's exclusive to role-playing. Mm-hmm. If you take a look at what I'll coin as professional sports, NFL, NBA.
That's teams. There's a difference. They're taught to follow teams at that point.
That's fine. That. We're taught in role-playing, we're taught to follow brands. No, you've got some folks that are pro WotC. You've got some folks that are pro Pathfinder.
But those are choices they're making. They are not being taught to do that. It's not like there's a fucking mascot for WotC and you wear your WotC t-shirt and you put on your We're Number One foam finger.
Hey, can you hold up your coffee mug real quick?
Yeah, sure. It's got D&D's ampersand on it. Right. And this one has Marvel and DC characters on it.
Right.
And all kinds of other shit. I get that. Right. But there's a difference between the branding and programming. Sports is programmed to teach you this way, and you can actually go look up the studies on this. And professional sports, modern sports, were created as a way to supplement warfare for men. So that way men, when there was no time of war, wouldn't rise up and start fucking killing everybody around them, because they would have supplemented tribal warfare through professional sports. That is social engineering that is done on purpose. Role-playing games were just this thing that shit into the world from war gamers. Essentially, just look, role-playing games. And for the longest time, it was pretty chill. There was a little bit of dickery and nerdery and what have you. But ever since WotC took over in 2000 or 99 or whatever it was, I've just watched it degenerate into camps and fighting all the time. And people with bad takes on everything, like Griff's current 90% bad take.
Question. Does it stem from the lawsuit between Arneson and Gygax? Is there actually some sort of something going on there? Because even all the way back into the two founders of D&D, there's fighting. And B, is it actually a consequence of the current, and I can't speak for other countries, I really can't, but at least where I live, everything is divisive. Everything is tribalized. Everything is team this, team that, team that. Even when I was in high school, when I was 13, 14, 15, it was Team Jacob, Team Edward, or something that's the dumbest thing you can think of, but it was still teams. It was still me versus you. It was still divisiveness, and it's just gotten worse over time. Do you think that D&D just got sucked into the middle of that, or that role-playing got sucked into the middle of that?
That's what I was saying. Is I think that's just universal. I think that it's practically everything. You've got Samsung versus iPhone.
Again, that is a 2000s invention. That is a post 9/11 thing.
Let me jump in. I actually want to kind of piggyback off of Tori. I don't think it was necessarily the lawsuit between Arneson and Gygax, but think about it. There has always been that kind of camp and argument. D&D, first edition AD&D, second edition AD&D, or Traveler, or Palladium, or whatever. There's always kind of no, our game's better because of this, or your game sucks because of that, or
But there's a difference, Brian, between having a disagreement about that. That's like arguing who's better, Spider-Man or Superman. That's been happening in geek culture forever. It's the fact that it's become weaponized in the modern age, and it camps up and it turns into war parties, and now we get shit like this where it's like, Twitter wars are happening over it. That's the stuff I'm talking about. There's always been disagreements amongst nerds. That's always been part of it. But I never heard about edition wars until 3rd edition came along. And I never heard about half of this shit until post 9/11. And I think I'm starting to think, and this may be too high-minded, but I'm thinking this is a post 9/11 social construct. I'm starting to think this is something that people do now, and it's just considered normal. And I think it's the worst form of normalcy because it's attracting the most broken-ass people I've ever seen. Sorry. Go ahead, Sarah. My apologies.
Or maybe, since that is a good point, it did seem to start after 3rd edition and WotC. Maybe the card game people shouldn't have bought a role-playing game.
So, proving my point, you're in my pond argument.
Well, I'm going to disagree with some of that too, because the card game company bought the role-playing company and brought a lot of the designers over. Monty Cook was working on 2nd edition.
I know.
So it's
Chris
like
Cordell, Sean Reynolds, Skip Williams. Well,
here's the
Jeff
better
Grubb.
example. Here's the better example that I like to use is all the people that throw fits about BattleTech. Oh my gosh, Catalyst Game Labs is destroying and ruining everything. And it's like, if you look at who runs Catalyst Game Labs, it's Lauren Coleman, it's Randall Bills, it's like all of these people that have been involved in BattleTech since at least the early 2000s, at least, if not earlier. They've just moved through different companies, and now they own the company that manages it.
But that's fine. But it doesn't mean that the product they're now making is any good.
But that's not the discussion we're having, Sarah. We're discussing the social behavior of the people in the product field. The fact that the consumers have now weaponized themselves against each other and go on. Dude, people have tried to get people fired from fucking jobs over this.
And now you see why I'm just ready to agree with everybody.
Okay, well, let's take Crafty now.
I remember.
Crafty's an outspoken guy, right? And he's got a lot of opinions. But at the end of the day, they're just fucking opinions. Well, some of these guys who hate him tried to convince they doxed him, found out where he worked, and tried to convince his boss that he was a pedophile over opinions on D&D.
I have thoughts.
Oh,
Speak up.
So my thought. So to what Bear just said, we is it not possible that level of disagreement and dislike existed way back when, but we didn't have things like doxing back before we had social media and laptops and phones and this and that and the other thing? Like, I don't think that the behavior has changed. I think that the tools at everyone's disposal has changed.
Yes,
Is
writing
that
a
not
letter
possible?
was hard in the old days. I agree. You had to really fucking hate someone to sit down and take the time to write a letter, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, go to the box. That's like levels of hate.
Brian
and click.
Brian and Bear. Actually, I'll pose something to you because these other two probably aren't going to get it. When we were growing up, how hard was it to get anyone's address and phone number?
Wasn't.
Right.
It was in a phone book.
Exactly. It was all published.
Fucking 411. Call 411 and ask for the name. They give you the address with it.
Yeah. So that's the interesting thing is everybody's throwing a fit about doxing, and it's like that's I mean, I would say doxing is more weaponized because people want bad things to happen, but getting somebody's phone number is not hard.
Well, it's not just the getting the information though, it's how it's used. And and now like using a phone book still required a level of effort. Like I had to like walk my body over to wherever the phone book was. I had to open it. I had to find whoever I was looking for. I mean, even that alone takes more effort than, oh, I'm playing a video game. Let me just look over to my other monitor. Let me alt tab and then let me type XYZ into whatever AI model you want to use at the moment. And I'm not saying that that's necessarily the case. I'm genuinely asking or pondering sort of out loud.
The key difference is back then when you were writing a letter, you didn't know if it got to the intended recipient, and you don't know what the fallout was until weeks later. True. Today, with it being pretty much immediate, you attempt to do that to a YouTuber, 9 times out of 10, they're going to make a reaction video talking about it. And now you've got that instant gratification. That's made it a lot easier.
Yeah. But overall, I do think the social media aspect, the dissemination of said information, I think it makes these fights seem a lot bigger than they really are. Because especially like most of like the Bro SR stuff or like the Braunstein stuff, it's really only happening between like 10 people. It's not like 1,000 people are mobbing up online to talk about it. You know.
Well, mobbing up online is easy.
True. Fair.
So the other thing is what Tori was talking about, having to get her body up and go to the kitchen to get the phone book. You're also going to the kitchen. So your anger was like, I'm going to get that phone book. I'm going to get his address. And Sunny D. You know what I mean? Like there was a chance on the trip to the phone book you'd get distracted by something. Like she said, it's just easy to go boop, 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 boop.
Hence why I survive off of coffee and rage.
And agreeable.
I'm raging. There's coffee.
It's empty now, but
there we go.
You know, the word love doesn't express my feelings towards you enough, Game Masters. I really doesn't. I admire you. I think that's what it is. I admire you.
A thought comes to mind.
You think I'm not being serious? Fuck.
It's just more thoughts that are kind of going through my head at this moment, but things too, like the concept of being eternally online, or the concept of algorithms, or the concept of the way that the online world works, where, again, for most of my years of DMing, there was no YouTube, there was no community, there was none of that. There was me and my table and the books I had in my hand. That was it, right? Whereas
your analogies don't count because you're an isolated country bumpkin.
I am an isolated country bumpkin, but I think that works to my advantage sometimes.
Let's go to a different place. You're in the needlepoint community, I would assume, right? Like you watch needlepoint videos and you talk
to a little bit. Yeah.
Do they get into massive arguments over the crosshand stitch versus the underhand stitch or whatever the fuck you guys are using? Well, Susan from Clemente invented that double X stitch, and as a result, by you using it, you're now stealing her ideas. Does that happen at all in your community?
I will point out that there's so much I want to say to that.
Bitchy little stitching women do actually have those fights.
Yeah, so bitchy little stitching women exist.
Remember, you can't demonetize my channel. It's not monetized.
Bitchy stitching women exist. There's a slight difference in how it manifests, though, because you're talking female versus male, and whatever arguments people want to have over that, I believe there is a difference.
Yeah, ours are going to end in fist fights. Yours are going to end in poison needles that basically people die because they licked their needle. And it's such a shame that Helen died. That fucking stitch stealing cunt.
Stitch stealing cunt.
I think that you're
feels good, doesn't it, Bear?
It's hard to like organize my thoughts. There's like so many things that I want to say. It is different, and it doesn't manifest the same way. That doesn't mean that people don't have disagreements over it, but usually those people are not as tech savvy. But actually, the big kicker between them is how seriously they take it. I think most stitchers that I've come across, if they get upset, it's like mildly upset. It's like, oh, well, that was frustrating. That was annoying. But they don't take it seriously. They don't take it like, this is my livelihood. Like, they don't get defensive to a degree. Whereas people in the TTRPG community or the RPG community or what have you, people in the RPG community take things like, we had one game store for a bit which I had visited on a couple of times, but it was mostly Warhammer stuff, so I wasn't there all the time. But a buddy of mine who paints Warhammer figurines was there more often. You know, and it's like people spend their entire lives there, like they have no lives. You know, like the neckbeard joke or stereotype or what have you. Like people take their RPG stuff so seriously, and it's almost you almost feel like dude, go touch grass, like something, go get a life. Like there are people who take it seriously to the nth degree.
So here's
Get
my
a
question.
drinking problem.
Hang on, let's go
Get a
back
drinking
to
problem.
question. We can argue about the wheres, whys, and wherefores of how they are manifesting this nerd rage. All I asked originally was, what is it about our fucking hobby that attracts these broken cunts so much?
It comes from
Why do we role play on the island of misfit toys? Like, what the fuck is going on?
Because normal people are out like having kids, cooking dinner, working their jobs, etc. They don't.
I don't have kids, but I have a job and I cook dinner and I go out and I do stuff. I'm sure Sarah does. I'm sure Brian does. And I'm sure other Brian does. That is a prejudicial statement, Tori, and you're better than that. I'm very disappointed in you.
It was the first thing that came to mind.
Hate was the first thing that came to mind, which
Next
is
you're gonna
proving
say
my
we're
point
okay.
about why our fucking hobby is so broken.
Go,
Next, you're gonna
Serapis.
say we're all basement dwellers.
We're all basement dwellers. I wish I had a basement. I
wish Brian had a basement too, so we could, like, you know, bar it and concrete the door and just leave him there.
I mean, fair.
Just to shoot to drop water.
Yeah, a basement would be cool.
You have a basement, Game Masters?
No.
I live in a basement. I rent a basement apartment.
So
It puts
what?
the
What?
lotion
Why
on its
does
skin.
that? Why does that stereotype exist? Like, why is it that the because like I've talked to people at work who have no idea about gaming. They don't play video games, yet alone RPGs. And the viewpoint that I seem to receive from people is that like I'm the weird one. Because
Wow.
Well,
I
but I mean,
weird, but
If the tiara fits.
but I mean,
at least it's a tiara, and it better be pretty, and it better be silver.
but I do think it does kind of come down to the type of people that are attracted to the RPG hobby. You know, people that read, people that are into the computers and the techie nerd stuff.
That's
Yeah.
not true anymore, Brian.
No, it is. It still is for the most part. It's not 100% true.
No, it's not anymore, Brian. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on in Arizona, but that's just not true anymore. In our day, when we were young, absolutely, and it made sense. The nerd, you're actually wrong, and let me explain why you're wrong. Was like whole part of our culture, totally understandable, because fist fights were rare, and boy, when they happened, they were funny as fuck to watch. When two nerds decided they were throwing down, oh my fuck, that was like fucking pay-per-view. Now, the nerd is the minority in the fucking culture of role players. The super geek is no longer the king of this fucking environment. Hence Bro SR and people like this coming in and filling up those spaces. What the fuck is going on? What was that?
Kim coughing.
Oh, hi, Kim.
Bear says hi.
Oh, she sounds horrible. Oh my god. Divorce her immediately. Get her a good wife, a healthy one.
You shut your dirty whore mouth.
Shut my dirty whore mouth and go back to Whore Island.
So
Yes.
if nerds like you describe are not the majority, then who is?
Casuals and trendoids and fucking people who read a fucking article or saw Stranger Things and thought D&D looked cool, and suddenly they were, I'm a nerd. See, cool. I'm a geek. I got my geek shirt on. Aren't I cool? Because geeks are cool.
But see, I watched while Kim made me go hiking yesterday morning. I listened to Basic Experts did this video reacting to.
Wait. You went hiking, and instead of paying attention to nature around you and listening to the sounds of birds and crickets and lizards, you were like, fuck this, I'm going online. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what I would do.
Right. I
Was
mean,
Kim with you?
Yes, Kim was with me. Actually, I listened to like part of it while we were walking, and then she wanted to talk. So, look, stop distracting me.
And she wanted to talk.
Well, no, usually we just turn our headphones on and we'll kind of chat, but it's like hiking is hard. Anyways,
Yes,
Anyway.
but he was bringing up a point that there is also, like pre-COVID, like RPG enthusiasts and post-COVID.
Yes.
Because his point was like, if you basically he was reacting like Ginny D finally reading the Dungeon Master's Guide after 10 years.
Oh my God, is this ever a slow news week that this is the event everyone's talking about, eh?
Well, but he brought up an interesting point that because there is kind of that split. If you look at 5th edition, like the earlier adventures were dragons and dungeons and all of the stuff that's typical. But then post-COVID, it's Strixhaven and baristas and, you know,
the D&D prom.
Right, the D&D prom, exactly. Yeah. And so I think there is a little bit difference in the audience, but I would still put a lot of those people as casuals.
But they are the lion's share of the consuming market right now, and that's something you need to keep in mind. So, as such, I want to go get some fucking OSR guys, and we'll use whatever rule set they want and run them through the D&D prom adventure just to watch how they handle these situations. I think that shit would be fucking funny. Do the barista adventure with a bunch of fucking old grognards and just watch them try and get their brains around shit, and like, it'd be hilarious, man. Fuck it. But
that's the thing. I mean, I think bringing in a lot of those people who want to think it's cool, who, in my opinion, aren't actually interested in it that much. Maybe they are having fun with their friends, but
the bandwagon fans.
Yeah, but could easily drop it to, well, this week we're going to start playing paintball, or this week we're going to music festival or whatever. I'm trying to pick random things. I don't think they're going to be long term. Like they're not going to be talking about, the role playing game that they've been playing for the last 20 years or anything like that. So
I don't know. I'm thinking about his original question of what is it about the hobby that attracts people? Because I can't even say that I qualify as like a stable person. I think I fall under the bandwagon. I think I fall under the category of daddy issues. And then there's like all of the RPGers I've met, all of the people who play in this hobby with me have something going on. Bear mentioned, what did he say? Did he say broken people? Is that what he said? I'm thinking back to his original question about what is it about this hobby that attracts that kind of people? And simultaneously, I'm thinking about what you said about, when you take, like, I complain about the Assassin's Creed games, and then Steve gives me crap for that, and he goes, well, why? And I say, well, that's because the first couple of games were really, really good. They were very tightly designed. They had a specific thing they were going for. And then as the Assassin's Creed games they fell into the Call of Duty trap, where now they're just releasing a new game every year. Not to do anything with that particular game. It's just, it's that time of year. Better release an Assassin's Creed game. And then they made it broader and broader and broader and broader to try and, the broader it got, the more homogenous it got. And the less tightly designed and the less specific it got. So it just, I don't know that I'm really making a point. I'm more just thinking out loud of the difference. Like, this is what's all going through my head, of the fact that, like, D&D is grown, and with growth, you're going to have blandness. The more people you get involved, the more homogenous it's going to get. That's just inevitable. That's just
right. You're having to cater to that most common denominator to try and get the most sales out of it, as opposed to making sure that you're producing a product that your fan base is going to like. It might not attract everyone, but your fan base is going to like it.
And can you blame them, though? Like, any business worth their salt is going to try to expand to some degree.
But why hasn't the milk industry expanded?
Because it already has, like, everybody. I mean, it's milk. You either
I don't
drink it.
Milk.
Hi, Bear, Montreal, first time caller, long time listener. So I was listening to everything you guys said. I was making coffee, and I'm just going to fundamentally break my points real quick. Brian, yes, you're right. But of all of those groups that are doing hobby shit and then move on to paintball, there's one or two who are still going, hey, wasn't D&D way more fun than this? Let's go play D&D and fuck this noise. And that's how the industry grows. That's how the hobby grows. Okay, there's always going to be those people who go, D&D was fun, but I'm doing this now. And the people who go, I don't like this, but that D&D rocked.
Right.
One. Two, milk doesn't have to grow because the American government bought it up to a point where we had to get milk ads that were, or got milk ads that were driving us nuts all through the fucking 80s. I rewatch a lot of 80s shows on YouTube now that have the commercials still in, and it disturbs me how many milk ads I see. It's like nothing but milk ads on some nights. It's like, well, my God, it's Friday videos, and it's just milk, 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 milk everywhere.
Go watch The Fat Electrician.
I've seen that piece where he talks about the government cheese and all that kind of stuff. Exactly. So that's a, I don't say disingenuous, but a straw man argument. It's not valid for what Tori's talking about.
Plus, milk doesn't have game design.
Well, also, milk, the milk
goes
companies want to sell more milk because they need to be responsible, fiscal responsibility to their shareholders to grow the value of the company so that they make more money.
So all of this
does as well.
All of this proves my point that everybody on the planet is broken because look at us. We're arguing about milk.
No, we are not arguing about milk. We are discussing the reason why all gamers are broken, and then you, like a broken gamer, brought in a fucking straw man argument to dissuade everybody, move everybody off to a point so you could make your hits.
I agree.
That's what's wrong with That's what's wrong with our society. I'm on to your clever, sneaky shit.
I mean, I don't know. I can't disagree. All of the people that play tabletop RPGs that I know of, or RPGs that I know of, are like, yeah, there's something going on with them.
How many people are self-diagnosed on the spectrum in our hobby alone, right?
No, and that is a good point. Like a buddy of mine, within the last year, decided to start getting into Dungeons and Dragons. You know, he's also gotten divorced within the last 3 or 4 years. He's had to move back in with his mom. He got laid off from his job. Also, I mean, yeah, broken people dealing with problems.
I got to go because Eli's going to be starting soon, and I'm been invited over to his thing this morning as well, so I'm going to stop off and do that. But I wanted to add one little point. The other big problem with this is that in almost every other society or social group I've worked in, if you run your mouth long enough, someone puts you on the ground, right? In the nerd community, not a lot of people can put people on the ground. And then they're going to get, well, I've studied this and I've taken... Yeah, I worked as a bouncer. You can study all the fucking martial arts you want. Unless you know how to fight and have been in fights and understand how to take a punch in the mouth, the floors of bars and fucking parking lots around the world are littered with the unconscious bleeding bodies of guys who took a class or studied a martial art, okay? So we also have a lot of guys acting like their dicks are bigger than they are, in that they think because they're now tough, and as a result of that, they would never say the kind of shit they say to each other to someone who wasn't a nerd, because they'd be afraid of getting beat, because they have that fucking geek genetic memory of everybody's head in the toilet, which I never had happen. I never even understood it. I never even heard about it until I watched an American thing where they explained it. I'm like, is that an American thing? Sticking people's heads in toilets? That'd get you shot in my hometown. Like someone would just come back with a shotgun and go, fuck that, and we're done. So I don't get it. But so I think we have a real problem in that, and I don't mean it in like, oh my God, it's an epidemic, but in that we have a lot of people who've never been given a punch in the mouth. So they don't know when to shut the fuck up. And they just think that because they're smart, they can keep talking nonstop and just do what they want. Add in post 9/11 anxiety that is a real thing and does exist in our culture and our society that caused us all to fraction into Team Jacob, Team Edward. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or blue, red. Watch the old Babylon 5 show, Blue Green. Purple Green. Remember Purple Green on the old Babylon 5 show? That is a perfect example of it. We're a perfectly happy society, except once every 6 years we fight over purple or green. What the fuck? But that's what we do.
And now we're all going to go to the tailors so we can dye all the other color.
Well, exactly. And then as a result, we've got a Bronstein argument happening now where people are arguing over something that literally isn't even their fucking fish. Like, think about that. if Wellesley was out there going, hey guys, you know, I appreciate you talking about it, but just remember, you know, you could at least acknowledge me that I created it. People would have probably just been like, yeah, absolutely, Mr. Wellesley, we apologize. You know, we should have been. It's the fact that Griff came and went, you can't fucking do that because, and everybody went, fuck you, nerd, and that's degenerated into a massive fight. Call me crazy.
Crazy.
Okay, crazy.
Thank you. Well, so glad to stir up shit and leave, but I'm going to stir up shit and leave.
He's getting him in the sink. Sorry.
Yeah, I can see him.
I'm distracted by the cat in the background.
Yeah, beans is being beans. That's the thing I can do about it.
Enjoy your milk and your coffee.
Cream, you fucking savage.
I'm still laughing at Tori being 4 shots in.
Buffalo
Hey,
Trace.
On that note, I actually have to bounce as well. This has been one, and for the record, holy hell, how has it been 2.5 months already of doing this on Sunday morning?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is
2.5.
episode 9.
I know. Yeah, Seraphis mentioned, because like when like Seraphis and I were talking about, like I mentioned after the first one about doing the deep dive with Seraphis, and so we finally did it this week. I'm like, yeah, it was just a few weeks ago. He's like, no, we just did episode 8. Like, what? That doesn't work. Anyways, I gotta go get a shower. Everybody, have a wonderful Sunday or Monday, whatever. You're not real. Anyways, but have a good one. I'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye. My favorite part about these is sometimes just watching Brian sit up, other Brian over there, sit up in the corner, just silent, like just watching, just observing everything that's going on.
It's what Cenobites do.
No,
I hope Leviathan is very proud of you.
I've got one of those somewhere. I just can't find it.
Oh, gotcha. Poor thing. She's being a fuss. Okay, there. She got her screen time.
Yeah, the Leviathan one was like diamond shaped, I think.
See, and you guys have already lost me, I guess.
Yeah, because we saw him saw it in the second film.
Second one, yeah.
Yeah. And we got to see the domain.
Yeah.
So you say Leviathan, and I'm just picturing Mass Effect.
Oh no, this one is both less designed, but also way cooler.
I still remember the first time I ever heard Sovereign speak. That's good. Just like, I mean, the first game was just so good. And I know I have the same problem with, so the recent phase that I dropped into outside of Minecraft is Final Fantasy, which is a fond nostalgic memory for me and my sister. So we do stitching to it. I went over to her house for a stitching day yesterday, of
Which one?
Well, Final Fantasy 10 for us, it's 10. But it's done. It's finished.
Wicked.
Yeah, and the swords will glow in the dark. There's actual glow in the dark thread in the swords. But for us, you know, and it's a nostalgia thing, you know, sometimes, and I really do enjoy listening to you guys talk, like the people who are part of a generation that I'm not part of. But at the same time, I have my nostalgic things that I'm attached to from when I was growing up, which is not the same as what you're attached to, which is not the same as what people much younger than me are attached to. So, you know, it's funny listening to Bear because I'm not really that old, but at the same time, I've said those same comments to people that are much, much younger than me. Like, oh, well, when I was growing up, we didn't have an iPhone. And it's like, because you start to realize that, you know, we grow attached to things as we grow up. I mean, is it that D&D is objectively bad? Is it that all of these new things that we don't like are objectively bad? Or is it just the fact that the hobby changes over time, and when we get nostalgic, we have a hard time dealing with that change?
I think that's a fair assessment of it.
Yeah. especially as a young person, I have to kind of have a little bit of that because depending on what side of nerd culture you're talking about, it's like, oh, you sweet summer child, blah, 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 and then just insert rampage there. And it's like, well, that's okay for you to say, but this is my childhood you're talking about. This is what's important to me, which is different than what's important to you. You know, he talked about like, oh, I love, he said, I love when 90s kids try to say that they're edgy. You know, we grew up and we were throwing rocks at each other's heads. And it's like, well, to me, my description of my childhood is trying to be edgy and ineffective to him. But at the same time, his speech rings the same for me. When I hear people talk about the lawn darts, I go, and? Who cares about lawn darts? So? Or it's like, we threw rocks at each other's head. And I'm like, and? Who cares about rocks? Like, we each grow really attached to what we experienced as a child. And when we hear other people's or other generations' descriptions of that, it comes across as like a story or something that we can't really attach to because we didn't experience it. You know, it's different when we experienced it. Anyways, that's my drunk rampage for the morning.
Oh man, yesterday was so bad. Grim and I may have been day drinking.
Why is that a thing, by the way? Like, I'm still struggling to understand the consequence of time of day with drinking. Like, who cares? Am I going to work? Am I doing any social events? Is there anything going on that I need to...
It's a conscious choice. The reason I don't is because I do have 2 teenage kids. And when they're not at home, I have to be on alert because you just don't know what's going to happen. And if I am to a point where I can't drive to go rescue, you know, or you know, should there be a flat tire or wherever my imagination goes, then if anything bad happens, I'm ultimately responsible. So that's why it's a time of day.
That's fair.
When they're at home and they're not going out anywhere, then okay. You know, or if my wife is at home and she can take the responsibility, then okay. You know, that's kind of where it all breaks down for me. You know, of course, I'm also at work Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I'm not going to crack one open at work.
Yeah.
You know, so.
But it's equivalent to the level of responsibility, not the time of day. So what actually matters
Correct.
is not that it's 8 a.m. What actually matters to you is that here's what my kids are doing. Here's what I need to be responsible for. Here's what's going on in my life.
Yeah.
But the joke is day drinking or, you know, like, oh, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. It's like, okay, but what are my responsibilities for the day? What do I have going on? See what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think for me, it boils down to, well, I don't know what I've got going on today. I don't know if somebody's going to need me to go out and fire up the chainsaw and help cut wood. I sure as hell I'm not going to do that after I've been, you know, 6-7 shots in.
Yeah. Luckily, I don't have to worry about that. Even when we did go get wood, I never wielded the chainsaw. I always just had to haul the logs up to the trailer. So, of course, I wasn't drinking during that time anyways, because that's when I was younger, but still. Yeah. But no, I recently was playing Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2, and a lot of people in the community hate 10-2 for a lot of the same reasons that people hate Mass Effect 2 and Dragon Age 2. And it's just really interesting to watch that whole, like, or even just sequel. I mean, how many times have we seen a movie come out and it's a really good movie and we love it, and then the sequel comes out and we're like, you know, just because it wasn't the original. It's not what we grew attached to. Different.
I will say that after about 4 or 5 shots, I no longer really care about losing runes in Elden Ring.
Still have not played that. I'm terrified of From Software games. I know Elden Ring is really good. I just don't know if I have it in me.
I mean, it is fun, but it will cause your blood pressure to go up.
See, I've got the opposite problem. Get some alcohol in me, and suddenly a lot of things start irritating me.
Well, and everybody's different too. before I used to not drink alcohol at all. Actually, I didn't start drinking until I was like 25 or 27, maybe actually even arguably much later than that, because I just didn't like it. But at that point in time in my life, I was a horrendous weed smoker, so that's what I was doing all the time. So pretty much any minute I wasn't on the clock, I was smoking weed. Don't do that anymore either, but
Oh,
no.
you rebel.
Yeah. It changes with time though. Well, to what Brian said, it's what is our level of, I mean, I don't have kids, and some people would argue that I'm throwing my life away because I don't have kids, but
No, do whatever. I mean, I say do what you want to do. I mean, you know.
Yeah,
Hey,
I don't.
Tori,
Yeah.
right now, you can have free time and play games and have disposable income. You
true.
don't have that with children.
I know. I think part of the reason I don't have, well, among other things, the main reason I think I don't have kids is because of I don't feel like I can take care of them. I mean, I've only had my own house for 2 years.
You never get to that point.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, how much money you have in the bank. You never get to the point where you feel like you can take care of kids.
Until 2 years ago, I didn't have anywhere to live except for a 8 by 8 foot square room. So it was one of those where until only recently have I mean in a literal sense, not, oh, I feel like I can't take care of kids. No, I mean like literally I have nowhere for a baby to sleep.
Right.
Like it was a much more serious thing at that point. And now that we have our own house, now the conversations are different. But well, that, and then the other thing that I didn't have the greatest childhoods. Me and my sister turned out okay, but we didn't have the greatest childhood on the planet. And it's one of those things where I take that very seriously. I see people with kids all the time. And my best friend just went through something like this recently where her kid, so it's not her kid, it's someone else's kid, but she's now raising the kid. And so it's one of those where you see families like that and you're like, man, I just don't want to add to that. I don't want to have a kid until I can actually be in a stable relationship, actually be there for the kid. Broken people should not be having kids. I mean, we're all broken to some extent, but I mean, truly messed up, broken people are having kids, and you just feel sorry for the kid when you see it all the time.
Such lighthearted conversations. I love it.
Well, I popped on because you were talking about the Bronstein games, and I was like, "Oh, I know this one. And then somebody mentioned Griff, and I was like, "Oh, I saw that. I know this one." Because usually you guys talk about things that I'm like, I have no say in. I'm too young, too far removed from that era of gaming, etc. You were talking about Artificers last time, which was really interesting because I have a player who only plays Artificers. And your guys' Talking Drek was the first time I've heard of this concept of people banning Artificers. Like, what is that? Why do people do that? And then you went on and on and on about how broken they are. And I'm like, Artificers are what is this? So the whole episode was interesting.
Yeah, I had to bail on part of it, but my 2 cents on that, I don't feel that the Artificer is broken. I just feel that the DM that has crafted that world, they'll have to put in a little bit of extra work to accommodate for that, because it's not a traditional fantasy core figure, but it is at the same time. And their world isn't designed for it. It doesn't take a whole lot of effort to redo that, though.
Yeah, that's like when GM Philosopher talked about the coffee lock. His response to coffee lock, which I highly agree with, which is to say that you don't need to ban anything. There's going to be natural forming consequences that you can use to your own advantage to deal with those kinds of things. But I mean, Steve's played an Artificer ever since he's been in any of my games, and I've yet to have any issue. I haven't had to put in any extra work, as you put it. I haven't had. So the whole concept that Artificers are something to be looked at was completely foreign to me until listening to that episode.
It's a complicated one. I can get further into it later, but like they have that kind of bad rap that's not necessarily earned kind of thing. Like it's artificers are bad because bad players play broken artificers, right? And even the way I described what I was doing sounds bad unless you take into consideration the rest of the table. In which
Yeah.
case, what I'm doing is getting up to par with the rest of the table. Like this is an epic level game. I'm about 5 levels below everyone else. So everything I plan on doing is bringing myself up to their level while still down here.
Yeah, and
It-
see how I see it. I mean, I've had necromancers, that have played bad. I've had paladins that don't follow what a paladin would do. I mean, I think every class out there has the propensity to be bad.
Do you think that there's something about artificers in particular that attracts those? Because when you guys were telling your stories last Sunday, what I was picturing in my head, or what I was thinking in my head was, I have an artificer at my table and he doesn't do any of that. That sounds like a bad player, or an out of place player, aka a player that's at a table with other players that don't want to play their style. That sounds like an out of place player, not a class problem.
You also got to remember which edition as well. Which game as well. Because like in 5th edition, the reality is that they're about as broken as any other class. In 3rd edition, you've got some really weird shit in there. Like we've got one player in our group, he's got a strength score of 50.
Because
he's a Warhawk. It's a 3.5 game. He's playing a Warhawk. He gets to basically boost his strength to phenomenal levels through feats and boosts and things like that. Right?
is that a consequence of the expansion problem?
Of what, 3rd edition?
So the phenomenon that games, both video and RPG, experience, where a game has been out and then they release an expansion, and then or a power creep, maybe that's the better term for it. Like, is that because 3.5? Is that because of the class, or is that just the natural progression of any edition that's been out for so long that many expansions were released for it?
Or is that as a derivative of homebrew stuff?
See, I'm not sure that there is a lot of power creep in 3rd edition, as there is a lot of redundantly designed classes and prestige classes. Like, there's the Mystic Thurge, that's a prestige class in the DMG, and it's fucking useless, right? It really has no advantages to taking it, other than it sounds cool. There's the Ultimate Magus, which, just like the Mystic Thurge, also sounds really, really cool, but its only downsides to picking it up as a prestige class. But then you've got like other prestige classes, other classes like the Beguiler, which are just well designed, which are just as on par with any of the other core class designs. And it's like, okay, well, clearly people got the design memo for some of these, and clearly some of these were just half-assed designed. So that's more of what 3rd edition has going for it. But it was also so popular, it also had over 20 lead designers working on a supplement, a book, pretty much anything at any one time. So that's why 3rd edition has like 1,000 books for it.
Is the design by committee type phenomenon?
Not really designed by committee. It's more like they had the lead designers all knowing what they were going to be doing, all coordinated. But then you had people who maybe rushed a little bit, or in the case of later 3rd edition books, like Tome of Magic, you had pushed out the first draft. Management said, "Oh, thank you. Now go work on 4th edition." And then the designers would later turn around and go, "Did you playtest that? Make sure it worked?" "Oh, yeah. Trust me."
You sure
Trust
you're
me,
not
bro.
talking about 5th edition?
No, I'm saying that this has been a systemic problem at WotC for
Yeah.
this long.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. At least back then they had game designers.
Wasn't
Now
there a
they've got-
period of?
Hmm?
Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say now they've got a manager.
I mean, wasn't there a period of time where TSR was kind of the worst?
Oh yeah.
So it's not exclusive to WotC.
Oh no,
It's
no.
just
It's just that
exclusive to
WotC is
D&D.
in the current landscape, and that's the current place that.
oh. Oh. So taking many pages from your book, I see.
Yes. He said he was going to be going in a minute.
He did.
guess-
He did. I
guess-
didn't know when to expect it. So
Yeah.
uh
That was amusing. Yeah, so I was going to say before that since he was going to be leaving, we would be able to talk about Mass Effect or Final Fantasy. So there's that.
Oh. Well, I mean, Final Fantasy X is my favorite, arguably the best of the series, and people can, what's the phrase, at me? I don't know. I love Final Fantasy X. I think it's amazing. I think the story is amazing. I see why people don't like 10-2. I don't hate 10-2. I genuinely like 10-2. But
The Celsius kicks ass. That airship is fucking well designed.
Okay, I was gonna say, are you talking about the airship? I haven't touched 10-2 for so long, but I just started this morning. Last night / this morning, I started a new gameplay because I wanted to go back through it with fresh eyes. And it's one of those where it's like, again with Inquisition 2, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 3, I said Inquisition 2, Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition. I get the complaints. I don't disagree with the complaint. Like I get it, guys. I feel a little bit of what you feel. However, I also take the context from those things, add it into the mixture, and the end result I get is a little bit more favorable than just, oh, they reused a bunch of assets. Meh. It's like, okay, yes, they reused a bunch of assets. They also had like what, a 12 or 14 month dev time compared to like 7 years. I mean,
Yep.
yeah, I wonder if a game's going to come out a little less quality and original when you only have 14 months.
But a good fan knows to blame the publisher for that, not the developers.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm with them. Blame EA. Don't blame BioWare.
Yeah. Well, nowadays I'll blame BioWare all I want because it's not like I'm insulting anyone who worked on those old games. So
that was I was gonna ask this much earlier, but what is the point in time where BioWare isn't it's sort of the old argument of it started with like a Greek philosopher in a ship. And when they sail the ship, and then replace a part, at what point in time have you replaced so many parts that it's not the same ship anymore? Or does it qualify as the same ship even when you have replaced all the parts? Like, it's kind of that conundrum of, is it BioWare? Is it not BioWare? Do the old devs matter that much? And if they do, I mean, because you can make the argument towards Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, which are beloved games to me. And then Diablo 3 came out, and granted, on launch, I was extremely disappointed with it. It's still not necessarily my favorite game ever, Diablo 3. And most of the staff left after 2. Most of the development team is not the same team, but it's still called Diablo 3, and it's still called Blizzard. Same thing. Like, where do we draw that line between when it's okay and not okay? When all of the staff is, because those people aren't going to live forever. They're going to retire. They're going to want to do other projects. I don't know.
Do you want me to answer now? Okay, so I call it after Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 had a bunch of problems. I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah.
But it at least had its developers and stuff there, right? After Mass Effect 3, the founders of the studio left, and not long after, you had a trickle of other original BioWare people leaving as well.
Well, and Drew Karpyshyn left after 2, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's people that make the argument that once he left, it was all done and over. It was his story. I mean, that'd be like him writing the first 2 Darth Bane books and then leaving and then somebody else writing the third one. I could understand the argument, even if, yeah.
I would say, I mean, there was potentially enough talent there that after Drew, you still had enough people familiar with the concepts, familiar with the game design, still having the game Bible that they could have gotten through making a second one, making a third one, right? Well, making the expansions for the second one, rather. But after 3, as I said, you had the founders leave. You had just a stream of everyone else leaving. And it's like, once you start refilling those positions with new people that are being brought in, that's when BioWare wasn't that original game anymore, you know?
So what's the
Or
correct
developer.
so that's a natural progression over the course of time with any company. So what's the right way to handle that? Like, what happens when all of what makes BioWare leaves? Do you terminate the company? Do you rebrand the company? Do you continue to try and make games using the legacy that company left behind? At which case you are pissing off all of your old fans, but simultaneously you're bringing in a bunch of new fans who didn't play those older games and don't necessarily catch that. Like, what is the answer to that?
I don't think there is a satisfactory one. All I know from my personal opinion is that after Mass Effect 3, there's a drop in quality in everything that BioWare was doing after that. And whether it was coming down from EA, whether it was in-house at BioWare restructuring, there's a noticeable difference. And I mean, you know, we're talking about Mass Effect 3, which was not a great game to begin with.
I started up a new playthrough with the intention of 1, then 2, then 3 all the way through, and I jumped ship at 2 because I ran into like a do I do this or do this dilemma, and I set the game down and I haven't picked it back up since.
Was it the Heretic Station?
No, that's the one with that's the DLC with the asteroid and all of that, right? Where you have to. Is that or
No, Legion's loyalty mission.
Oh no, I didn't even make it that far. Me being the way I am, what would cause me to go into a dilemma and quit the game is a romance option type decision. It has nothing to do with other aspects of the game. Yeah. But although it's interesting, I think it's telling because you say after Mass Effect 3, and what first pops through my head is what Mass Effect 3 was the end. There is no after Mass Effect 3. Andromeda. Okay, yeah, I guess. But I never played Andromeda. I did not play Andromeda. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in it. I completely like Andromeda does not exist.
Well, I know one thing about Mass Effect Andromeda. Can we move on from this conversation? My face is tired.
I have not played it, and I don't think I will. I have a lot more loyalty to the Dragon Age universe than I do the Mass Effect universe, although there is something kind of special about it. Again, with that whole, like, we experience something and we attach to it. And sometimes I even catch myself asking, is it because Andromeda is not good, or is it because I don't want to change? Is it because I don't like change? Is it because I grew attached to something?
No, you're allowed to like love something and then at some point go, I don't need to keep seeing where other people are taking this story because it's not the people who made the story.
Now let me ask you this then. if let's just put this out as a hypothetical. If Andromeda was not made by EA and BioWare, but by some third-party company that because Blizzard, this happened to Blizzard like relentlessly through I think the early 2000s, where people kept leaving Blizzard and forming their own companies. This is where Guild Wars comes from. Guild Wars comes from a bunch of people leaving Blizzard and making their own company. So let's say that happened. Let's say everyone in BioWare, like the key people, Karpyshyn included, all jumped ship and made some new company, and they made Andromeda. Would it still be a bad game at that point? It was made by the original developers.
I don't know. Is Fallout New Vegas a bad game?
Fallout was made by Obsidian, which was not the original. I think it had
No.
Emilio. Wasn't is it Emilio Paglia? Whatever his name is.
He's Bethesda.
He is Bethesda. Okay, but he didn't act as a, because I remember them interviewing him when they were talking about New Vegas, and I thought that was interesting because I'm like, what? He's not part of Obsidian.
No, he's not.
So is Torchlight a good game? Torchlight and Torchlight 2?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I have sunk hours into those games. I don't know what the story is.
Exactly. So here's the thing. I don't think that Torchlight 2 is a bad game. I don't think it's a great game. But you remember when it released, one of its big marketing things was that from the original creators of Diablo 2, and they were trying to sell Torchlight 2 on that, and I bought it on that. I was like, oh, these are the guys that left Blizzard. These are the guys that made D2. And that was after the D3 disappointment. That was me going, well, they took Diablo in a direction that I'm not okay with, but they split off and made their own company. Let me play that game. And then I played it, and I played it for like an evening, and I was like, meh. And then I moved on to other games. That's how memorable it was. But it was made by the original creators.
I picked it up for $3 because a friend wanted to play co-op.
That sounds about right.
So my connection to this to Torchlight and any connection to Diablo is just non-existent, and I didn't play Diablo.
Well, pretend that you love Diablo as much as you love Mass Effect or Spelljammer. Pretend with me there. But see, that's what I'm saying. It's interesting, that whole concept of the original developer, because developers have split off, made their own companies, and those companies have failed. Those games failed. And yeah, but at the same time, look at New Vegas, where a different company took the IP, did something really great with it, and now...
Yes, but Obsidian is made up of former Interplay designers, and Interplay were the ones who originally created Fallout 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So
is it, I guess what I was trying to say with my Torchlight argument is that sometimes the original developers split off and do something, and you believe it's going to be good because they're the original developers, but it doesn't guarantee that it's actually going to be good. So, because I think what happens is sometimes when you get a team of people together, you get it's kind of like one of my groups right now, where you get a unique chemistry. And even if one person leaves that group and the other three are still there, the chemistry is shifted. And it was that original chemistry that made the good game, not necessarily just the individuals, but those individuals together. So you take 2 or 3 of those individuals, split them off, go over here, but they have a different DM now. Doesn't mean the chemistry is going to be the same. Doesn't mean the game's going to be as good.
Well, isn't that my point about what happened to BioWare after Mass Effect 3?
Kinda. It's most of it. I'm continuing on that point and adding on to the point that those original developers could go make a good game now, and it probably won't be as good as Mass Effect.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not... It's an interesting conundrum, because people aren't going to keep doing what they do forever. They're going to retire. They're going to move on. They're going to just move in general.
Get falsely me too'd.
That what have you? Stuff happens to them, and new blood comes in. Do we? In fact, you know what? going on to the whole Hollywood acolyte conversation that we touched on a couple episodes ago. I
Do
think
we have to?
Well, here's it's a continuing theme of do something new. So, okay, all of the old guard that made the original Mass Effect games left. They left BioWare. BioWare's not really BioWare anymore, right? So then quit making Mass Effect games, make some new space adventure game. Don't call it Mass Effect. Make something new. But we keep re-releasing stuff under the old IP, under the old name. And I think maybe what we should be doing is making something new. Because if you took Mass Effect out of the name, Andromeda might still be a bad game, but at least it might not be, because people aren't looking at it as a Mass Effect game. It would just be a space adventure game at that point. And it might have gone down way, 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 way better.
Potentially. I mean, it still would have had all of its bugs in it. It still would have had a Bethesda level of bugs and problems with it. There's no denying that. But like spider people arms and stuff. But like the so we're getting close to one. Well, we are after 1 a.m. So you have to forgive me. My brain is taking a little bit to get going.
Well, we can end it if you need to. I will go until someone shuts me up. I just
No, I'm happy to go for a little bit longer. Because I mean, we can actually talk about video games and like the game lore stuff and the stuff that was meant to happen like a week or two ago.
I remember that. You're like, hey Tori, we're gonna do a Dragon Age and Mass Effect stream, and I was like, I'll join that one. And then I popped on, and it was, I don't remember what it was, but it had nothing to do with Mass Effect and Dragon Age. But that's okay because a large part of the people in the audience, other than me and you, aren't necessarily video gamers in the first place.
Yeah, but I was looking forward to that, and I was excited, and then it didn't happen.
Well, that's not to say it couldn't still happen.
Yeah, I have to arrange like another time for it.
Yeah. Well, and I have I think Bear is gonna go ahead and send me the TTRPG, or I say TTRPG just to differentiate, but the actual book for the Dragon Age game, so I can take a look at that hopefully, because I still have and I've read Asunder, I've read The Calling. There's one that I haven't read yet, which is the actual Ferelden Resistance story. So I have bits and pieces of the external lore that I know, but I also haven't played every little minutia of every single bit of every single game. So sometimes you'll actually mention something and I'll go, wait, what? Because I, do have a life outside of the games a little bit, but both of those series are just such good series, and I still defend Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition to this day. I still defend them. What I'm gonna do with the fourth one, I don't even know. I'm probably gonna play it. I'll at least do that, but I don't think I'm gonna like pre-order it or anything. I haven't looked into it. I've been deliberately avoiding anything to do with the new Dragon Age game because I think I'm terrified.
Yeah, I would be.
I think I know.
Yeah. I'm not going to give you any spoilers. I'll let you experience it at your own when you're ready. But I've seen enough, and I'm just not going there. Kind of like Mass Effect Andromeda. I saw enough, which my age, I guess that's what I'm phrasing it as. Like, I don't know. A lot of games nowadays, it feels like I'm seeing like the writing on the wall during their trailers and things like that, and being like,
there's certain signs, there's certain things that you see and you go, nope, spotted that.
Red flag.
Yeah. Red flags. Yeah.
And it's just like, but getting on to something nicer, Final Fantasy X had the best soundtrack.
Oh, yes. Well, in my solo DC20 video, that was Final Fantasy X music in the background, which I specifically did not call out, didn't state, didn't highlight, anything like that. And if you go onto the solo DC20 video, the first
I've already watched it.
the first comment on there said something about, you know, Skyrim character in DC 20 with Final Fantasy 10 music. Like the first comment on there, they called it out. And it's like, yes. And I get it. I get why people don't like 10-2. Even I have to, like, if I'm gonna play 10-2, I have to like sit and then like, okay, switch gears mentally. You know, it is not the same. I get it, but I still love 10-2, and I still think it has a lot more credit than people give it.
I haven't played it.
You should. You should, at the very least, because you want to understand the criticisms, you want to understand why people don't like it, and you want to see for yourself. You want to experience for yourself, because there are a lot of people who see the surface level of it and go, bleh, and they hate it. And it's like, okay, but all you saw was like, you know, 10 seconds of some scene / trailer, and you don't know the rest that's going on, and you judged it too quickly.
See, I can't even say that because I have all of Final Fantasy X and 10-2's concept art and render art and
That'd be
production
awesome.
art. Because I do that pretty much with every single one of those Final Fantasy games because I love the artwork. And, you know, Yoshitaka Amano's artwork is freaking awesome. But
Oh, the Final Fantasy X is the only Final Fantasy game I ever played. And I immediately love it. My sister played 7, and she wanted me to play 7, so I bought it on Steam. And I did play the remake for a little bit, but I'm at least savvy enough to go, okay, this is the remake, this is 7, and I almost treat them like two totally different games. Like, as far as I'm concerned, there's Final Fantasy 7, and then the remake is really just a completely different Final Fantasy game that happens to have the same character names in it. I'm treating it like it's its own entire separate entity.
oh yeah,
Oh my gosh,
everything
you know what
I've heard.
well, now the combat is good. I'll give it that. The combat is good. But I still am determined to go through and play the original 7 on Steam to learn it before I go into having conversations about it, because just playing the remake and then saying, oh, I played, you know, like with 10, you can play the HD remaster and you've still played 10, you know, which I love. I love that all they did was make it pretty and run on new systems. They didn't change anything. Not really.
Yeah, I can agree to that.
Did you ever play Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah, but I didn't play very much into the first one, so
yeah. That's you want to talk about Mass Effect 1 and 2 being over here and then 3 being over here. That's Kingdom Hearts. When Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, it was like, it was so bad. It was so
so it's always the third game, is it?
I guess. Diablo 3, Kingdom Hearts 3, Mass Effect 3. Good lord. Good lord. No one can write a trilogy except for Carpathian to save their lives.
Dragon Age Inquisition.
I would argue that Inquisition was the best of that bunch, because Inquisition still felt like a Dragon Age game. Pretty much. They clearly got rid of the asset reusage of 2. They still had reasonably good characters. And what I really liked about Inquisition is it didn't shy away from the corner they were writing themselves into. So with Mass Effect and Dragon Age, you've got Templar versus Mage, and you spend all of this time setting up this gray moral argument that does not have a clear winner or clear loser because of these individuals that you meet that present the valid arguments of both sides, right? Or in Mass Effect...
and then Dragon Age 2 gave you no chance to do anything about that.
Well, that's what makes it interesting. Bring back your PlayStation, please. Okay. I need him to bring back his PS4 so that I can put it in the TV out front so I can play 10 on the TV out front instead of on my computer in here. No joke. But and he has one. Why not bring it down and hook it up to the TV instead of leaving it in storage? Well, okay, before he waved at me, that distracted me, and I totally had this whole train of thought I was going on here. Because see,
so Mass Effect.
I believe that Mass Effect wrote itself into a corner, and without Drew there to help write them back out of it, when you have an entity like the Reapers, what are you going to do? They wrote themselves into a corner. There is no you have one of two options. Either A, they're not as deadly as you've been presenting to us. They're not as bad as they've been made out to be, or B, they are as deadly as you've been presenting, and they are as bad as you've made them out to be. And if that's the case, then to truly follow through on that thread, we have to be powerless against it. But at the same time, you want your hero to save the day. So I feel like they wrote themselves into a corner. I have no idea. I say I don't like Mass Effect 3 nearly as much, but I also have a little bit of sympathy for it, because how the heck were you supposed to tie all that up together? What the heck were they supposed to do with that? Especially when the lead guy left. That doesn't help things. So I feel like Dragon Age kind of sort of almost went into that same corner. See, I do like 2. Despite its flaws, I do like 2 because 2 was more focused on that initial conflict of the mages versus the Templars. And also 2 was really, really focused on the inevitable downward spiral. It wasn't just that it was a downward spiral, it was the fact that you're not going to do anything about it. These people are going to keep hating each other and hating each other and hating each other, and you can try and be a voice of reason, but at the end of the day, anger leads, and these people let their anger and their emotions lead them. And then we get into this open conflict. It was inevitable. It was always going to happen. And Dragon Age at least didn't entirely shy away from it. Like, they didn't go as heads deep into it as I wish they would have, but they didn't like go, oh, what conflict? Mages, Templar? Oh, that got magically solved off screen somewhere. They didn't do that. They at least went into it going, yes, this is the natural conclusion for this particular conflict. So I like that they did that. I like that they tried their best, or at least I defend them. I say their best, but I like that they genuinely tried to go into that conflict and then continue through it. With everything, and they came up with some interesting concepts in terms of Corypheus, in terms of, the Grey Wardens. There's 5 archdemons, like 5 known old gods, and we've had 4 blights, right? So realistically, we only have 1 blight left before the Grey Wardens as an entity don't need to exist anymore.
7.
We have 7? Okay, I miscounted. The point being that there is a finite number, though. There is a finite number. So at some point, all of the blights will have happened. And what do you do with an order like the Grey Wardens, who are so focused on self-sacrifice and death to the point where that is their only identity? What do you do with an order like that when there are no more blights anymore? So it's just I found some interesting concepts in there that redeemed Inquisition in my mind more than, say, Mass Effect 3.
Well, then I would have liked to have explored that purely in that sense, rather than you being the special with the rift magic and it not really mattering whether you had a connection to the Grey Wardens or not. Because that story on its own, to me, has more appeal.
Okay.
Or at least that story by itself, I would feel has the...
It's almost warranting its own story?
Yes, it would warrant its own game. There's many aspects from watching other people's, like Salt Factory and whatnot's playthrough of Inquisition, where I feel like if you took this, like this whole thing going on here, because it has very little connection to other stories going on, you could have that be its whole entire story. You could take the stuff going on in Orlais, and that could have been its own story, just like pretty much how it was in Dragon Age 2. Now, Dragon Age 2 pulled that off horrendously with its year jumps and chapters and shit. And magically, the Canary threat is now over. And
yeah, the Canary are a little bit of like a speed bump. in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, which is like, what? Do you
But,
think
like,
they crammed too much into one game? Maybe.
yeah. Like, there definitely could have been in Dragon Age Inquisition a good story with having it focus on the riff stuff going on and then make expansions for it. That is the story in Orlais. That is the story with the Grey Wardens. That is the story. Well, I guess that's kind of the Mage Templar thing is kind of connected to the riffs, from what I understand.
You know, it's interesting that you say that because I would argue that one of the bigger faults of Inquisition is the riffs and the riff magic. I think that detracts, that takes away from what we actually was the interesting bit, which is
Yeah.
what happens to the Chantry, what happens to Templars. Now the mages have rebelled. Like all, the story in Orlais is arguably the better story worth exploring, and the riff magic bit was sort of the removal of that.
Yeah.
Oh, so you'd agree?
Yeah.
Good. All right.
Eh,
I'm not
from
completely crazy.
From all the, as I said, from all the playthroughs and reviews and stuff I've watched, especially like as I said, Salt Factories and Paladin, whatever.
I say I haven't
The dude who
seen
does the
Salt.
8-hour ones, like from everything I've gotten from those, like it feels like there is a there's a good game, or maybe even two good games in there, and they chose to make the game focus on a crap idea and stuff two good ideas in there instead.
So
So
I'm
kind of doing a better job of Dragon Age 2, but yeah.
and so I'm just doing some quick math on the side real quick. So I have about 610 hours into Inquisition, just to put. And I haven't seen Salt Factor. I haven't seen any of his replays or videos because I started one of them one time, and it was basically him shit talking a game on very surface level stuff without having any understanding of it. And I went, this isn't for me. And so I just kind of haven't watched any of his videos. Just full disclosure. I was really judgmental of about 5 minutes of one of his videos. Full disclosure. And it's funny because what we're talking about in terms of exploring the story is the only, or one of the only defensible points of 2 that I make, because so many of the complaints and so many of the critiques are so valid. But the one thing I do like about it, and the one reason I keep defending it, is because I think part of the point of 2 is not big grand scale epic battles and epic this and world spanning blah blah blah. It's supposed to be anyways, this very tight knit focused story on this developing conflict and the nuances thereof. It's not black and white. There is no clear good or bad guy. It's this very complex dynamic between these two groups. Because
it really also should have focused on how essentially the Amel family mixes into that as well, since they do come from a line that produces magic mages.
Yeah.
And
I almost they should have almost not even had you pick a class. Like if they were going to force you to play human, unlike the first game where you got to pick origin stories, if they were going to force you into one origin story, they should have just gone full bore and forced you to play a mage. They should have just followed through with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe if like once you complete the game, you can do a new game plus where it unlocks like a rogue class or fighter class. Like that could have been an idea. And then you get to play the whole game with the hero armor as well. But like, yeah, they definitely should have had the original beginning of the game be that you play as Hawk as a mage.
Yeah.
Because that then makes sense with the story of the mages and the Templars that's going on, and the Chantry trying to, the revered mother at the Chantry trying to mediate between the two, but being completely blindsided because they decided to turn Alistair into a dick.
You mean Anders?
No, Anders. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. I was so disappointed by that. At the same time, though, I do feel it was a natural progression of the character we were presented with into. So if you didn't play the in between the DLC from 1 where you first meet
Awakening.
Anders, if you didn't play Awakening and you're only going off of Anders as we see him in 2, if you watch his character, he gets more and more pushed, more and more frazzled, more and more like he is slowly losing his mind throughout the entire game. And so I do think what he did was a natural progression of that. I wish the Revered Mother had more screen time. I feel like she wasn't developed enough. And yeah.
One thing I'll say, I wish the choices you made to his class as well would ultimately have also affected his ultimate outcome.
You mean you wish you could have stopped the blowing up of the Chantry?
Yeah. Or at least pushing Justice into going back. Oh, no, what was he? What did he
Justice
become?
is the name of the spirit. It turns into vengeance, starts as
Vengeance.
justice. Yeah.
That's right. Having vengeance turn back into justice by having him choose the class skills, going back into being justice rather than into vengeance. I wish that had an effect, because at the very least, that drive from vengeance would have turned back into justice, where he would have been annoyed, but he wouldn't have been pushing Anders to be essentially a terrorist.
Yeah. I'm of two minds of that, because on the one hand, I agree 100% with you. On the other hand, though, I don't like the idea of being able to stop the explosion from happening because there's something horrible and kind of dark and kind of like, what the heck about it. There's something inevitable. There's something frustrating about it, but I think that's the point, that it was going to happen. And okay.
Oh, no. Like, that still happens. All that still happens and sets off the war, but it's not necessarily Anders that ends up doing it, because that whole time, remember, he'd been accumulating followers. So if he had finally turned and gone, oh, you know what? Yeah, vengeance has turned back into justice. Things have calmed down in my head. This really kind of isn't the right way of doing things. But oops, it's too late. His followers have already done it.
That would have been even more poignant.
Yes.
That would have been even better, because if you had gone through those story steps of trying, so either A, you failed to redeem him, in which case he does it and we get the game we already had, or B, you go through all of these extra steps to redeem him, and even though he gets redeemed, but his message got put out there anyways and it's too late. And that would have been really good. All right, you've sold me. That would have been really good.
See, I'm a good DM. I can tell a story better than people who clearly can't tell a good story.
I do wonder what the game without EA could have been. I do wonder what the direction of Dragon Age without the EA could have been.
Phenomenally better.
No question.
My opinion is EA just doesn't understand. I mean, come on. I'm of an age, of an online internet age, where I can point back to 2000 and, or maybe 2011, when EA really tried to push that RPGs were dead and everything had to be an action shooter.
Oh, isn't that around the time when Dragon Age came out?
Dragon Age 2 and Mass Effect 3. And what were those games heavily? Shooter.
Oh, well, and then past EA looking at modern day Baldur's Gate 3. Which, because aren't we doing that whole same thing? I'm not as in on some of the video. I'm localized in my video game scene to like my favorite video game communities. But like, isn't that where we're at right now? Where Fortnite was huge, and whatever Overwatch, whatever was huge, which I still fully subscribe to. Overwatch is not actually that good, not actually that huge, wasn't actually that well played, and was just marketed up the ass. And that's the only reason why it did what it did. It was because the marketing was just.
I feel like Overwatch was targeted and has been utilized entirely for the thing it was meant to be, an esport.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. 100%. Which
No.
that's a big ecosystem in and of itself. That's great for them, but it makes success. Well, not even just Baldur's Gate 3, because before they got that, which now everybody and their dog has heard of, they had DOS 2, which apparently quite a few less number of people have heard of. But I mean, I was playing that. I have, in fact, right now, the if you look at my Steam library, I have it organized by number of hours, and the number one game in that list, albeit because it doesn't count the hours from the 360 I had back in the day, but the number one game on that list is Divinity Original Sin 2 with 400 some odd hours. Inquisition's lower on the list because when I first played it, it was in EA Origin, so it wasn't in Steam yet, so no tracked hours there. But point is that DOS 2 is a phenomenal game. Was a, and I mean, it was a huge commercial success. So while people are looking at Baldur's Gate 3 and going, "Oh, look, we do love single player RPGs," I'm looking at DOS 2 and I'm like, yeah. Larian's been over here quietly making success after success for a number of years now. Like, there's been a market this whole time for that kind of game. But anyways, I digress now. But so when did
no, go ahead.
I say, so you mentioned Inquisition and ME3 during the time, and I think I know the time frame you're talking about, where there was this huge push that single player RPGs were dead. But I thought that's when DA1 came out and blew everybody's brains. You're saying it was earlier than that.
No, it was definitely around Dragon Age 2 and Mass Effect 3, because it was around the time of, it was between Dead Space 2 and Dead Space 3, because Dead Space 2 went from continuing the horror vibe but having a little bit more action shootery stuff going on, and then you went into Dead Space 3, which had co-op
And was nowhere near horror.
and was fully action shooter, and
yeah,
the horror was just non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I'm sure it was horror according to a checklist by some executive, but not to any gamer.
Yeah, there's a video that Riker does where he goes through the entire history of Blizzard, which is particularly interesting because of where they start in the world of video games and how many of their team members went off to found all of these other companies. I was genuinely surprised when I learned, because I was, obviously a child at the time most of this was actually happening, so I learned about it in retrospect. But a huge portion of Blizzard basically spun off into what became, slowly over time, like half the games industry. It's kind of wild.
So I was just having a look at my own playtime history on Steam. So a stupid match 3 game called Gems of War is currently my most played game with almost 5,000 hours, because it's something I can do with the kids around.
Oh, that's fair. I mean, yeah.
All I gotta do is move a mouse, so
Yeah.
But after that, it's Warframe with over 3,000 hours. Then Stellaris with 1,500 hours. Fallout 4 with 904 hours. And then the original Endless Space with 800 hours.
Oh, man. So Granted, I haven't always been on Steam, so there's quite a bit missing from here because I have DOS 2 at 463 and Skyrim at 448, but Skyrim obviously would actually have way more than that if you count that I've been playing it since it launched on the 360. And then next is Baldur's Gate, Subnautica, RimWorld, Dragon Age Origins, Below Zero, and then Stellaris at 121. And then Power World, because Power World's amazing. And then it just goes down from there. But lifestyle and the age group that we're in, I think, has something to do with that because what was it? Was it Yahtzee Croshaw? I think it was Yahtzee Croshaw who was talking about how there's like a we're in the dad game age, the age dad demographic where all of the main video games that are coming out are all middle-aged white guys with children. And he listed this list of example that started with the new God of War game. And he was like, this game, this game, this game, this game, this game. Because I thought he was like, okay, yeah, Yahtzee, sure, whatever. And then he listed all the games and I was like, oh snap. And the point I think he was trying to make was this, you know, as gaming, particularly video gaming, has grown up, these games are like targeting certain audiences and they're kind of growing with it to where now the same guys that were playing Pokemon on the play school, you know, on the playground are now have kids and are playing God of War with their kids. And so they're playing these they're more wanting to play these characters that have kids of their own because it mirrors their experience. I mean, do you think that's really a big factor?
Oh, absolutely. Because like I can't on PC seem to get my gaming hours of my, how many was that? A lot. Okay, there's a lot of games. There's a lot of Xbox 360 games on here.
And you play them all through Steam or?
No. I'm on my Xbox account.
Oh,
Windows 11. I can access my.
They
Xbox.
are connected, aren't they?
Yep.
Oh man, I don't even know if I could pull that up anymore because it wasn't my account. It was my boyfriend at the time. And funny enough, the first Xbox Live account we had, my name was Tapster's Tavern. That's how much I love Dragon Age. My account name was Tapster's Tavern.
Oh dear.
I wasn't even a drinker at the time, but foreshadowing, I guess.
Okay. Oh jeez. Wow.
Of which when I first started playing Stellaris, it was before you know how they have alloys now? When I first started playing Stellaris was before they had alloys, and planetary management looked completely different. I do like the new version though, because it is easier for me to wrap my head around, because strategy games like Stellaris are still unique to me. It's not like I've been playing them a long time or anything, but I'm playing co-op. They have two co-ops. They have one where you each have an empire, and then they have one where you have two people controlling the same empire. That's the one I've been playing with Steve, actually.
And how does that work?
It's more fun than you realize. It's more fun than you think, because we saw the same thing. In fact, the whole reason we started it was because we saw it on the menu and we're like, what kind of multiplayer is this? And I Googled it and I'm like, Steve, it says that we both control one empire. And he looked at me and he goes, how does that work? And I go, I don't know. Want to try it? We said, sure. And then 12 hours later, we were still playing and we were having the time of our lives. But being as I'm not a very strategy game type person, and I struggled with Stellaris in particular, because I can never get past the early game, I was like, no, this is perfect, because you can ensure that we don't die, and then I will learn. So I've been like studying, like leveling in my Stellaris gameplay specifically so that I could do it on my Saturday stream sometimes, kind of specifically for you. Like one of these days you're going to pop in and we're like, look, we're playing Stellaris. Hey, Seraphis. So, but it's enjoyable. We're playing as cubes, and the name of our empire is Freddy Fazbear Entertainment. Nothing. Okay.
Is that FNAF's?
Yes.
Okay.
I've been watching FNAF since 2014. So
You're one of those online kids, aren't you?
I'm one of the kids who never played it because I can't do horror. But I've seen all the Matt Pat videos. I've seen all the ID fantasy videos. I've been following it for a very, very, very long time. And the progression of the story in FNAF is up into AI. So they went from like dead kids' souls in Chuck E. Cheese style restaurants, and now it's AI and computer virus type stuff. Like it kind of went very in a sci-fi direction. And so my argument was that Glitch Trap expanded and multiplied in the AI network. So when we started our Stellaris Empire, my thought process was that Glitch Trap just expanded and grew to a point where it became everything. And then when we left our mortal shells behind and went fully digital, so that's where our Stellaris game took off from. Because gotta have fun with it.
Yeah. See, I'm usually boring and just like create insane war versions of Star Wars peace races or like have you ever seen Alderaan at war with their philosophies? It's freaking hilarious in Stellaris. They brought a new level of Clone Wars in my game, and wow. They went on a level that was like Gandhi in Civilization games, where it just starts nuking everyone because that's peace.
That would be. I'm gonna have to mention that to Steve and see what he said, because he typically plays war domineering empires. And in fact, he was telling me about a time where him and his buddy from Vegas and a couple of other people were all playing Stellaris. Like there were no AI. Well, there was like a couple of AI, but it was mostly them. They got like I think 4 or 5 people playing together, and she ended up winning because she was the only non-domination, like non-warlike. She just went around making friends with everybody. She was like a non-hostile empire. And by the time they got to the end game, what happened was somebody started a war with somebody else, so then the entire rest of the galaxy came to her defense and wiped them out because they couldn't defend against the entire galaxy. So I'm just saying that sometimes making friends with everybody there's a whole strategy around that. It's effective.
Yeah.
I think. I've never gotten to end game. I'm trying.
With that Crisis update, I haven't fully gotten a chance to properly play it, but man, there's so many previous games that I've played where I was already the Crisis.
Well, when I get through Lost in Random, depending on what we go into next, because it's coming up to October, which means it's Final Fantasy X. Every year between October and December, we do a run through Final Fantasy X. I mean, it's borderline tradition, and it's gotten to the point where we just get the urge to play it, and we don't know what time of year. It's like, well, I haven't played 10 for a while. Let's play. Oh, it's October. Makes sense. So that's going to be coming around. But there's a Stellaris run through coming, and when it does, I'm gonna need your help. Like I'm gonna be relying on you or anyone who's familiar with the game to like pop in and help me out from time to time, because eventually I want to get to the end game, but it's strategy games are not my thing as much.
Are you going to be playing on Iron Man mode?
No, because I don't feel like, well, it's not that I don't want to, it's just that like I'd like the ability to learn. And so if I die and I reload and I can reapproach a situation in a pinch, I feel like I can learn that way without having to start all the way over from the beginning. I feel like not playing in Iron Man mode would be very effective for trying to at least get to the end game.
Okay. So I just want to know that, because at some point, inevitably, my answer to a question you pose is Control tilde.
What?
Control tilde to drop down the console, because clearly anything I can help you with, really you need to cheat.
Control tilde. I always read that as tilde. Is that not how it's said? I've always said it tilde. I
Uh,
don't know. Well,
I'm Australian. We talk different.
That's fair. That's fair. You say I say artificer, and you say, is it artificer? Is that how you say it? How do you say artificer?
Artificer, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we pronounce things a little bit differently. I was going on a but you know what? Some expressions are worth keeping around. I was going on a rampage at my sister yesterday, like full tilt, not paying attention to what I was saying, and I said spanner in the works. And only people who watch streamers from the UK or know someone from there would even follow what a spanner is. So once in a while, I cherry pick little expressions that come out that are just so much better in like not American English.
Oh man. I was gonna say something.
It's getting late for you. It's getting very late. It's only, well, according to my computer, it's 4:15 in the afternoon, which it is not. So, yay.
Well, it is 1:45 a.m. for me.
I have no idea what time it is. It is, okay, excuse me. It is 10:15. It is actually 10:15 a.m. It is not 4:15 in the afternoon. So I need to fix my computer again. I pulled out my NVMe drive and I just unplugged it and plugged it back in, and I disconnected I have 3 hard drives in my tower, and I'm assuming one of them is causing the constant blue screens. I'm hoping it's not my NVMe, but it might be. I just can't figure why my machine keeps blue screening all the time. I mean, I've replaced so many parts that it's basically not even the same computer anymore. The hard drive's all that's left.
How many of the hard drives are from the older machine?
All of them. NVMe. I bought the NVMe about 6 to 8 months before buying the new rest of it.
And that one's set up as your C drive?
Yeah. Primary. It's a 2 terabyte. Because I had a 250 SSD and a 1 terabyte disk drive. And the idea was that the SSD had the OS and then the hard drive had everything else. That's the way it was for years. And then I bought the NVMe and I thought, well, I have 2 terabytes. Why not put everything on here? Which is counterproductive. The whole point of having the OS on a separate drive is so that I can wipe it every so often when I feel like it and not actually lose everything. So I don't know. I'm kind of tempted to buy a new NVMe and just get a smaller one and go back to what I had before, or even just an SSD. I did fine on an SSD with everything else being on a separate drive. Case in point, all my assets, right? Like I lost, now that was a little bit my fault, but still, I installed a new OS. It wipes the entire NVMe, not just a partition of it. And as a result, I lost everything that was on there. I was like, see, if I had my OS on a separate drive, I wouldn't have had that problem.
Do you remember at all the blue screen? Is it coming up with stuff written on it?
Mm-hmm. We scanned the QR code at one point, but it just came up to a generic help me menu. It didn't specify what the issue actually was. The one that we saw last night had like a driver. It said something about a driver, which, okay, if I've got all new hardware, maybe there's a driver. Right now I have Win 10 on here. When I started this adventure, I was coming from Windows 11. I actually downgraded to Windows 10 with the Linux in the middle there. But and the main reason I didn't just stick with Linux in general is because of Lost and Random. Everything else worked. Literally everything works on Linux except Lost and Random, which I had just started, so I didn't want to. I needed to play that. And go figure, now it works on Linux. Go figure. But also G-Hub, which controls my mouse, it doesn't work on Linux. I mean, my mouse works. I just can't change the lights or the sensitivity through G-Hub. The only
It's
other...
meant to be Linus, right?
Huh?
You know it's meant to be Linus?
No. Sure. I guess. I'm still going to call it Linux because that's what everyone else calls it.
Yeah, it's meant to be Linus.
Well, I had Pop OS specifically. The only other reason why I went back to Windows at all is because of the mic. G-Hub, which is a Logitech product software, actually connects to and controls the Yeti Blue mic. So what it does is it helps cut out the background noise. What happens is if when I plug this into Linux, it's like 20 times more sensitive, even with the gain turned all the way down. It's like you can hear everything, like the air conditioner and everything. And I really didn't like the audio quality, so I ended up going to Windows 10. I mean, what do you have? Do you have everything on one drive?
Oh shit, no.
You have your OS on a different drive.
Yeah. That is just apps.
I knew
the app's installed on the computer, and that's it. That's all that's on that drive, except I had to put Homeworld 3 on there, on that drive as well, because fucking wouldn't run at any decent amount. It wouldn't load up in any reasonable amount of time. Otherwise, it basically required an SSD to load the freaking game.
Now, is your OS on an SSD?
Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have an NVMe.
Yeah.
Oh, you do, but you just
2.0.
So is that what your OS is on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So when I said I'm sorry. I guess when I say SSD, I meant not an NVMe, like the old school.
Yeah.
Separate ones that aren't. Well, what I did this morning was I unplugged the extra drive, and now I have nothing but the NVMe in the motherboard total, and I'm just gonna run it like this. Well, see, and ever since I did the new hardware, it's blue screened only one time, so it went no problem. I took it out last night, tried to plug it into the TV, blue screen 3 times, brought it back in here, blue screened, and every time it blue screens, it boots to Pop OS. Every time it blue screens, it loses my Windows partition entirely. And I have to go back into the BIOS, shut it down, reboot it back into the BIOS, tell it that Windows exists, because the first time it boots after the blue screen, if you go into the BIOS, there is no Windows drive. None. It doesn't exist. And then after restarting it, this last time while you and Bear and everyone was chatting, I had to restart it about 5 times before it finally saw that Windows even existed. Now, running flawlessly, no problem. I am a little bit flabbergasted at what it's doing, because new motherboard, new RAM, new processor. Literally the only thing that's the same is the video card and the hard drive. And the video card, I'm just basically waiting for Black Friday to try and get a good deal on, if I can. But I'm going to be getting a new GPU. So the only thing left is the hard drives. Now, 2 of them are quite old. I went ahead and unplugged those.
Yeah, but those older hard drives, if they're not, they shouldn't.
They're not running the OS. They shouldn't matter.
Yeah, I had a old hard drive that was doing the exact same thing. It never caused a blue screen with my computer. And once I removed the drive, because what it would do, it would cause a Explorer crash. But once you just had Explorer restart, everything would be fine, but the drive would be missing. It turns out the drive was faulty anyway, so not a big deal. It didn't have anything on it anyway. It was just backup stuff. But yeah, it sounds like whatever's happening is happening on the drive that has
that has the operating system.
that has the OS. However, it kind of sounds like maybe both your SSDs are sharing the OS somehow.
I have another. So what I originally had was a 250 gig SSD, like the little, like, not an
Yeah.
NVMe, like, and then I had 2 hard drives. One had files and shit on it, and the other had games on it. So I actually had 3 hard drives total, and that did me fine for ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. But stuff happens, people up, whatever. I decided to go get a new hard drive. I got an NVMe. I plugged it in. I did not transfer. I didn't, like, none of that stuff. All I did was just pop out the SSD that had with all my old Windows. My whole other computer is still there. It's still on that SSD. I never touched it. I just popped out the SATA, put in the NVMe, and started from scratch, because I like to start from scratch every so often. It's just a good thing to do. And so I did a whole fresh, clean install of Windows. Ever since then is when I've experienced the blue screens, and it started very, very slowly. It was like once every 3 months. It happened maybe twice. It wasn't very often, and then it happened again, and then it happened again, and then finally, between that and the fact that there's just freaking olds, Steve talked me into buying a whole new processor, motherboard, RAM, all that stuff. Because once you trade sockets on your processor, then the rest goes along for the ride. And I had, like, my motherboard was so old. I had, like, DDR3 RAM and stuff like that. I mean, it was pretty old. So we bought all of this new equipment, thinking that would help solve the blue screen issues, and also it's just time for an upgrade. In between that, actually, excuse me, before I bought the NVMe, my computer started smelling like burning plastic and or some such, and so we disassembled it. We tossed out the power supply, and we got a brand new power supply, and I switched GPUs because something happened and it popped, and we smelled burning smell. So something bad happened. So the other thought process was, okay, maybe even though the computer worked after we swapped the power supply, maybe some damage had happened to the motherboard when that shock went through. So the assumption was, by buying a new processor and motherboard, we'd be good. I buy the new equipment, the blue screens are, like, kind of only getting worse. And it's like, what the heck? So the next logical conclusion is that it's got to be the hard drive, presumably that brand new NVMe that I haven't even had that long. That's why this morning, while you guys were chatting and I had you on my phone, I popped out the NVMe and popped it back in. Because the other thing I thought is, what if it's not in all the way? What if a connection's not stable? But it's kind of odd, isn't it?
That is extremely odd, but then again, it's not the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
Fair.
Or hell, that's not... Huh?
I said fair.
Yeah. I had one of my old computers. The hard drive, it didn't race itself, crashed itself and deleted the GPU drivers in the middle of me playing a game.
What? What? How odd.
I'm kind of that unlucky.
That's fair. Well, when I blue screen this morning, it was in the middle of playing Pal World. It just... everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's time for a new NVMe. And probably time for you to go to bed, I'd imagine.
I've got 2 minutes till 2 a.m.
I couldn't even be up at that hour. I am by 7, 8 o'clock.
I come from a family of night owls, so the midnight oil is strong with me.
That's fair. That's fair.
Unfortunately, the children are quick to raise, so I'm not going to get any sleep tonight.
Oh, too many years of working at 5 o'clock in the morning just decades of having to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning for work has turned me into a morning person. I do it on the weekends now. I've been trained.
Well, hopefully next time, I don't know.
Go get some sleep.
The other two, the Bryans, that's it. Red and blue. Next time, they're either not going to be on long or they're not going to be around. I'll send you the link and we can actually do a full thing when I've got a working brain. And we can talk Mass Effect and Dragon Age and Final Fantasy and just...
Oh, it'll be good times. It'll be good. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Video games!
Yes. Some good video games. So let's introduce, this is Talking Drek, episode 9. It's been 9 weeks, people. 9 weeks. Amazing. I can't believe, because I've been writing each one of these episodes. So, you know. And I don't know, we had people on, Tori's here now. Bear was on Gaming with ADHD, and Bear wasn't on Gaming with ADHD. That's a completely different. Look for OnlyFans for that kind of stuff.
In particular, that's a interesting.
And Game Masters, and I'm sure he's going to enjoy that commentary. As he's been saying the whole time he was here. Yes.
Yes, I agree. I
agree. And thank you for being on, Tori. Yeah. And I don't know, what do you want to talk about tonight?
Oh, there's so much to talk about. There's RPG stuff, there's TTRPG stuff, there's video game stuff.
Have you checked out Gunship? It's music.
No, is that what you were starting your episode out last week?
Yes.
You were playing it like.
Oh yeah. Yep. That was Gunship.
I haven't checked it out in like crazy detail. I just remember hearing it when it was on that episode. So.
I highly recommend experiencing them first with their music videos. Just because they're really awesomely 80s. Like it ranges from anime 80s to like the current one that's currently on. In case you haven't figured out that's why the color keeps changing on this side. This is my other screen. I've got Gunship playing. They've got one that is they've got 2
pause
songs that director. What happened there?
A little internet kerfuffle. I mean, you're in Australia, right? Isn't that the joke, that the internet gets kerfuffly down there?
Yes, it does, there? But it doesn't normally. Okay, apparently I've been on too long, according to the government.
The powers that be are like, enough.
Yeah, I know, right? Fucking cunts. God. Yeah, no, the government sucks.